took a load into Wolf's demolition, so I'm steady going at it, and I would ask for a bit more time.
Okay.
And
did you have a sense of how long period of time you might be looking for?
so I'm hearing that I have 30 days from this time, as Sean Donovan told me today, and I would ask for 2 extra months, so that would make 3 months in all. Hopefully by then it should be pretty well down to it. And another thing I'd like to mention is I have Evo Winters is checking into which avenue I should take into paying back taxes and how we go about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Hillary. Are there any questions for Hillary on the request? Okay, looks like you're off the hook. Thank you for bringing that to council. So before we make a decision, we'll just hear from Eastern District Planning Commission, and then we'll have a discussion and decision. So if you want to just return to the gallery for now,
Very good.
that would be great. Thank you, Hillary.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Warden. So I just got a short presentation on, for council's information on the property, the timelines that we've been dealing with so far. So the property is listed as being owned by the Barretts and the Bretons, and these people are deceased as far as we're aware. 1364 Salmon River Road, and the PID and the assessment account number as are shown. We received a new complaint May 3rd. We've been on this property in the past. I've walked the property in the past. The complaint noted a number of piles of debris on the property. My staff were on the property May 11th and reported that the property did in fact appear unsightly and gave the appearance of the scrapyard, several derelict vehicles, piles of derelict machinery, etc. On May 26th, we issued that 30-day cleanup order. It was posted on the property, and that's a proper way of providing an owner a notice. It's 30-day cleanup order. So these are some of the pictures: derelict vehicles, a school bus in the background, tires. Again, more pictures. So the Municipal Government Act defines dangerous and unsightly as you see on the slide. My building inspector's professional opinion was that it met that test, and so we issued the order. Our recommendation that the cleanup order be upheld. So now hearing Mr. Taylor, so Mr. Taylor is not contending that, he's just looking for more time. It's not unusual for the council to have somebody present saying that they want you to rescind the order, but he's just looking for more time. 30 days is what we've given. There is a significant amount of debris and derelict vehicles, etc. on the property. Mr. Taylor is correct that he's been showing good faith so far and making progress on trying to get the property cleaned up. And from a staff point of view, a 90-day order, we wouldn't be necessarily opposed to that. But if council amends the order from a 30-day order to a 90-day order, at the end of the 90 days, we would do it. We would tender the work, we would go and finish the work, and put the cost of that against the property. It's a discussion that we've had with Mr. Taylor, and he understands that. And so it's in his best interest to remove as much as possible in the time allotted. And again, our understanding is he has been doing that.
Okay.
So that's that presentation. I do have some pictures of the property, but I don't know how well you can see those. So the road goes back. But
Okay.
anyway. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, John.
So looking at that, John, like, it does go way back. Can you see this from the road?
Can you see everything from the road?
Yeah.
There's a significant amount of debris that is actually in Department of Transportation's right of way. And but no, some of the stuff at the back you
Yeah,
can't see.
right.
It's
Yeah.
I can't see from the road.
Okay.
I walked all the way back in on one occasion to see what was back further on the property.
Okay, and in your opinion, you've mentioned that Mr. Taylor has been showing good faith in starting to remove debris from the property, that you would not be necessarily opposed to a 90-day order. Would that 90-day order be effective from the date of today? Or I guess, or would it be, I guess, probably more effective from the date
Yeah,
of?
council is going to amend the order. It would be from whenever you amend the order.
It's amended, which would actually be at the end of this month, because this is just a committee of the whole meeting. And so it would need to go forward to a regular council meeting.
So that would take us to the end of September.
Right.
Yeah, well, more time is gonna be more helpful for him.
Yes, okay. All right, councillors, do you have any other questions for John?
I think based on, what you've presented, Mr. Taylor's presented, I'd be willing to make a motion to amend it to a 90-day order.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson.
Yeah, I'd second that motion.
You'll second that, Councillor Digdon? Okay, is
Okay,
there,
so we will amend, we'll wait for council's motion, right? This is just.
this is committee of the whole, so the motion would be formally accepted at the end of the
So
month?
not right
20th.
away, right? It's gotta go to council, council will make it, and then we'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's 90 days from when we give it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so, any further discussion?
I guess I would, the only thing I would add, and we've seen it already in the past several times, was that, come 90 days, I wouldn't be willing to entertain revisiting this for more time.
No, I think,
I guess would be
Mr. Bean
the,
yeah,
just to give it out there that, 90 days, we're getting into September, October, November, we're getting into snow.
yeah.
So if it's not done in 90 days, then I would be pushing from giving you time to taking the time away.
Yeah.
Would
So
be the-
that would happen automatically, right?
Okay, good.
90 days
Yeah.
will be up, because the appeal, he doesn't have another appeal.
Right.
Right, so the 90 days would be up. If there's work to be done, we would tender it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. So is there any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So thank you, John, and thank you, Hillary, for coming in, and
Thanks, guys.
we'll ratify that motion at our regular council meeting at the end of the night, at the end of the month. Okay. All right. So you're welcome to stay or depart as you see fit. We'll start with our presentations. Thank you, Hillary. And we'll begin with Arc of the Coast. So Tim and Jean, we'll let you come. Yeah, come to the the table, and maybe I'll just get you to introduce yourselves really quickly and
I'll do that standing up to begin
provide your
with.
update. Sure.
I'm Tim Menk, and I'm a co-founder and director of Arc of the Coast, along with my partner and co-founder and co-director, Dean Kersey from Gabaroos.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us. We
Absolutely.
appreciate being able to come down here, particularly at this time of the year. It's beautiful, the colors of green coming down Route 4, and as somebody mentioned earlier, that we didn't come down the Fleur de Lis made it even more of a pleasure. At any rate, it seems a long time ago when we made a remote presentation about the Arc of the Coast project, and there's been a lot of progress and forward motion since then. And for those people in the gallery who were not here at the time, our organization was founded in Gabaroos to include other communities up and down the east coast of Cape Breton, looking at opportunities for development that would be sensible economically and environmentally. And it's an outgrowth of work that we did in Gabaroos, working with the Gabaroos seawall and getting that restored, getting the Gabaroos lighthouse saved from falling into the sea, And our next project was to try and get the Fleur-de-Lis Trail connected finally again to the fortress. And when we realized at that time that to expect the province or the federal government to spend any of those funds, it was going to be necessary to demonstrate that there was economic potential for doing that beyond the 2008 study that Gardner Pinfold did that proved that it would be economically feasible and profitable. There's a need to prove to elected officials that the kind of money it would take now to restore the trail in its entirety and to connect Garousse and Louisbourg is significant. We believe still it's justified based on the facts that we know. And we know that this coast has been neglected for many years, and the road is one of those clear indications. So
Tim?
when we began looking
Mr. Mink,
after we turned
I just
from-
wanted to interrupt you
Yes.
for one moment, and I apologize for doing that, but I failed to mention at the beginning, we have a number of presentations, so we're going to allot about 15 minutes, so I just
Okay.
wanted to give you the heads up.
I just wanted to give an intro. for
Yeah,
those people who
absolutely,
were
for sure,
unfamiliar.
yeah.
At
thank
any
you.
rate, we decided to look at what the assets were that exist on this coast, and most notably, those are the harbors and the wharves and the fishers that have fished, in some cases, for generations in the various communities. So looking at those, we thought, what could be a possible development that could make use of the existing infrastructure? And this will be a repetition to you members to whom we presented. And looking at it, the opportunities that are being followed around the world now extend into the ocean to deal with climate change issues and the changing fortunes, for instance, in various fisheries, like in Maine, where lobster used to be king, and now it's having problems. So one of the alternatives being pursued in Maine and elsewhere around the world is ocean farming. And we advocate small to medium scale farms being operated initially by those people who are in the fishing industry who choose to go beyond their 2-month or their quota-based businesses to establish farms that would grow shellfish and seaweeds. We're not it's not that we're not in favor of, but we do not promote finfish farming. We think it's more problematic environmentally, and we believe shellfish and seaweed farming is something that can be both beneficial economically and environmentally. So at any rate, that is our position, and we have been moving very steadily forward with this. Jean and I recently were down at a meeting in Maine, 2 meetings in fact. The World Wildlife Fund out of Washington, D.C. saw fit to give us a grant of $50,000 US to support what's called social license, or to do educational programs, to teach through various means, whether it's secondary, post-secondary schools, and meetings amongst the public and directly to communities about the possibilities and potential from this kind of development. So we've been engaged in that, and we went down to a meeting of other grantees from around the world, of which there were 25. Arc of the Coast was the only one on the eastern side end of Canada to get this grant, and there are a couple on the west coast in BC. At any rate, we met with about 55 people, half of whom were experts from around the world in seaweed and shellfish aquaculture and also finfish aquaculture. And we then went to a national conference in the same place in Portland, Maine, where there were 500 people from around the world. So we learned a tremendous amount. And when we returned, after having our heads filled with that, plus sadly both of us contracting COVID, we recovered from the COVID faster than we did the trip back from Connecticut. At any rate, we have gotten an email from the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, which is one of the many groups we've been working with, including NSCC and also Cape Breton Partnership, CBRM, and a number of other communities, including Glace Bay, Bay It Forward, and also Louisbourg, the Gateways to Opportunity Group. The letter from email from the Aquaculture Association R&D director was that she wanted us to be a co-applicant, Arc of the Coast, a co-applicant with them and with a group called Marinov, which is a nonprofit fisheries and aquaculture operation, very well reputed, well respected out of Quebec, Gaspé. They have a person on the ground in Nova Scotia now who is a seaweed expert, marine biologist. So we had started working with her about trying to get a COA funding for her, and ACOA is very open to the idea of a project of this type, looking at the various types of sugar kelp that are available on this coast, what would be appropriate to raise here. And then Aquaculture Association said, why don't we work together, because we're working with Flora and Marinov. So we filed jointly a $356,000 request to the Atlantic Fisheries Fund, which goes out of business in 2023. So we're not sure about what the outcome of that's going to be. It's various different projects looking at advancing the seaweed industry in Nova Scotia. But subsequently, we talked to Kate at the ANS, the Aquaculture Association, and suggested we should make a joint application to ACOA on the same basis. And we've also asked the World Wildlife Fund, who is viewing favorably the idea of taking some of the Bezos environmental funding of $100 million that was given to the World Wildlife Fund to fund additional projects in Nova Scotia, most particularly focused on developing the basis for a commercial industry, which is you have to have seaweed spore. If you're going to garden, you need to have seeds. So the beginning place is to work, and one of the beneficiaries of this will be University of St. Anne, which already is providing the only spore production facilities for the 3 existing farms.
I wanted to say this because before we run out of time, and that is, Art of the Coast is an economic and community development cooperative. The place we decided to start in terms of helping communities make decisions about community development for themselves is in a resource that generally most communities have in common. However, our goal is to help each community decide for itself which among the assets that it values it chooses to base its community development on. So we want to make it clear that we are available to help any community that has made a decision or to make a decision around the resources that it has, that it has decided it wishes to use as a basis for economic development. We will do our best to help them activate that choice, try to explain the pluses and minuses, and help them through any kind of administrative or governmental process that might be in their way or on their path, whichever way you want to look at that.
And as an example of that, Brent will be witness to the fact that Framboise became very activist on the Fleur-de-Lis Trail issue. And Jeanette Strachan has been relentless in a very positive sense in trying to get funding, and did manage to get some repairs, although it's hard to tell now, having gone up it recently, that those repairs are very lasting. So we joined with her group to go to meetings over the winter, trying to get attention, and she did indeed get attention, and some money was spent. Not yet what needs to be done.
So we want to make it sure people are aware that we have indeed launched on supporting the initiative to support sea farming as a general economic activity for our part of the island. However, also make it clear that we are available to communities in general to help them make decisions for themselves, because basically our experience has been, and our observation has been that when people elsewhere make decisions for Cape Bretoners about how they may proceed in their communities about economic development, has not worked very well. And so we are trying our best to support local decisions and decision-making and local choices of community development that makes sense here for the people have to do or live with them.
Important to note, and Amanda will be especially cognizant of the amount of work that's gone in by Cape Breton Partnership in cooperation with NSCC in bringing the attention to ocean farming as a potential development routine in our area and for the province, and we think in fact for Atlantic Canada, in that Amanda was key in putting together a series of 5 webinars, the most recent of which was on this past Thursday, where Jean and I were co-moderators. At any rate, going back to the funding, we believe that there is a substantial opportunity here for communities to earn more income from existing infrastructure. And there are a number of people who are doing this all around the world. And beyond the economics is the fact that the uncertainty of climate change, as has been witnessed with lobster in Maine, indicates that you have to be ready to make changes perhaps a little bit more precipitously than one might like. And in fact, nobody less standing than Mr. Risley, who co-founded Clearwater, who started his career harvesting or going and picking up lobster and crab and other things along our coast in a pickup truck. He now says that lobster will be an industry that won't be long-term potentially here. And we need to look at that and have an alternative plan perhaps in place to be available for people to have as an option.
Because change, although it isn't always pleasant, it is coming. And the only way to make it work for you is to choose what you're going to do in response.
And
otherwise, the choices will be made for you.
one of the things that we should point out is the environmental benefits that have been proven are substantial. Seaweeds as a whole around the world absorb more CO2 out of the atmosphere that goes into the oceans than the Amazon rainforest does. In fact, most of the rainforests in the world don't take up what seaweeds do, and it's one of those hidden assets that is taking 30% of the material we put up in CO2 into the atmosphere, goes into the ocean, at which point the seaweeds take it up as fertilizer. So it takes CO2 out of the water in the form of carbonic acid, which is causing acid changes, pH changes to the water, which is impeding the growth of shellfish. So it's the ecosystem aspects of this that we're interested in too, what they call ecosystem benefits. Now, I'm not sure where we're at on the timeline, but that's essentially, that's.
No, you're okay, you've got
Oh,
about
are you?
5,
Okay.
yeah, you've got about 5.
So if there are any questions, I'd like to, and we did send to Yvonne a little belatedly, a link to our Arc of the Coast webpage, which we only launched before we went to Maine because we have remained really low-key dealing with government departments and with planners to try and get people in the government levels aware of what the potentials are before we got to the general community, where there inevitably will be some controversy, some support, and some not. So we're at the point now where we're welcoming public participation, and we'd welcome any questions anybody might have here about our project.
Great, thank you, Tim. Does anybody have any questions for Tim or Jean? Maybe I'll just mention, this could be a good opportunity for us to perhaps request from the Cape Breton Partnership that they send us a little summary of the webinar series.
Great
The whole
idea.
goal of that series, with the links to where you can watch, because the whole goal was to raise awareness, provide some education, and start to build a community, a sense of community around ocean farming in this region, which I think we've got fits and starts of it happening here, but not necessarily that network of folks built. So if councillors would be okay with that, we could maybe ask Karen to send a request to Jeremy Martel at the Cape Breton Partnership for a little summary that we could share on our website, just to.
And I'll share a little fact that maybe will add some sense of potential. People are probably aware of of nuri. The nuri is it's the seaweed wrapping that you often get in sushi. That's a very profitable product for Japan. They grow all of the world's supply on 240 square miles.
Wow.
So all around the planet, nori and every sushi that
Which
one gets
Comes from 240 square miles.
Which is
Crazy.
$2 billion a year.
Oh, wow, yeah,
Amazing.
So,
that's pretty wild.
just saying.
Also, as Tyler Mathis, CEO of Cape Breton Partnership, pointed out last Thursday, the series that was so well produced by NSCC and Cape Breton Partnership is going to be available on
Telil.
Telil. So it will be available for the general public to see.
Great,
So those links would be important at some
It is the
point.
first of a number of series, actually.
yeah.
We hope there will be a number of series going forward, but Amanda and everyone that worked on this deserve a rest.
We're gonna take a little break, for sure. No, that's awesome. So, and I guess if I heard you correctly, you have a funding application then you're going to do jointly with Aquaculture Association
Correct, and Marinov out of
and Marinov.
Quebec.
Great. So is the application in yet, or is it
It
just?
is to
Okay.
the Atlantic Fisheries Fund.
Great.
And I sent in the one to ACOA 2 days ago. So they are very favorably impressed ever since we made a presentation in 2018 to ACOA on a prospective basis. We've had supporters on both the commercial side and on the nonprofit side. And the presentation went to both. the commercial side could possibly fund some of the changes and expansions that have to take place at places to build sport facilities and to add to the existing ones here.
Yes.
By the way, briefly, there are 3 commercial farms doing this, seaweeds and shellfish, and they're all in Cape Breton.
Uh-huh.
And all of the companies who are doing that were at our first meeting in 2018, January, when World Wildlife Fund, Strategic Investment Manager, and an original ocean farmer in North America made a presentation. So we can't claim to have been the investors in this or the inventors of the concept, but we know that what we're doing is a growth industry, no pun intended, around the world. And we hope and expect that it will benefit growth and the potential of expansion economically and demographically, bring more young people back that are going away for education, not coming back.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the point you made about diversification of our ocean, you know, activities is an important one. I'm really glad to hear you're inviting public participation. I think there are going to be some hard questions. There have been some hard questions, and we need to engage with people to make sure their concerns are addressed, right?
We'd like to think we have many of the answers, but I'm sure there will be questions that we'll have to do a little noodling on.
Exactly.
If nothing else, we're willing to help you find
Exactly.
the answers
That's right.
that we're looking for.
So thank you all for having us and taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for making the drive. I know you had a bit of a sprint from Sydney, and glad you.
We had a 1-hour car repair that took 3 hours.
Right.
Let's start it off.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay.
Appreciate
And
it.
as I mentioned, you're welcome to stay for the duration, or if you would like to hit the road, I know you have a long drive home as
Well,
well.
we
so-
also have to pick up a friend coming in from New Mexico.
Okay.
Airport in Sydney.
Okay.
We're on a mission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right,
Thank you
you're
all.
welcome. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is a presentation from Destination Cape Breton regarding their 2022-2023 strategy. So I'll welcome CEO Terry Smith and our Richmond County representative, Cindy Walker, on the DCBA board. So welcome to you both. Glad to have you here this evening.
Thank you, it's great to be back, it's great to be back in person. Yeah. So I'm just gonna jump right in, and by the way, I've had the pleasure to work with your new CAO on many projects over the years, and very happy to see that Karen is in that seat now.
Karen would like to note that it is an interim position, but we are very happy to have her interim. Thank you, Terry. And just a reminder, we're going to kind of stick to the 15-minute-ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure, so
Okay,
we're gonna jump right in. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about our strategy for the coming year, but I just wanted to start off with a few results. So most of what we do from a marketing standpoint is designed to drive traffic to our website. And this chart just shows you the website traffic over the past 5 years. So you can see it's been going up a little bit every year, but this past year we took a significant jump and had over 1 million sessions on our website for the first time. So it was up 29% over 2020. And we also measure leads, which is clicks from our website out to our operators, our tourism businesses. They were also up 45% last year too, over 117,000. So that tells us that people are actively making their plans to come here. And the good news is for this year, the pent-up demand, we're certainly seeing it on our website, because last year was a record, but we're up 73% over last year.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's been fantastic. In terms of room nights sold, of course, that's been a little bit of a different picture. In the last 2 years, it's been pretty challenging. So that kind of shows you the 2017, 2018, 2019, those were normal years. And we've got it separated there into the green, which is now it used to be licensed accommodations. It changed, they're now registered accommodations. And then the shared economy, which is mainly Airbnbs. So it looks like there's a bit of a decline there, but the Airbnbs have been growing and getting a greater share of the accommodation pie. But then the last 2 years, of course, it was very challenging. Last year was up 45% over 2020, but when you consider that 2020 was down significantly from 2019, you know, it was still down 36% from 2019. So getting into our strategy overview, so we every year take a look at what some of the experts are saying travel-wise in terms of forecasts, and one of those organizations is the Conference Board of Canada. So they actually, this is their second forecast that they've put out for this season, because the first one had, after that, we had the gas prices rising through the roof, so they adjusted it. But they basically said that they expect total visits to Nova Scotia to increase by 33% in 2022. Now, to put that in context, that would mean that we would be about 80% of 2019 numbers. So on the road to recovery, but not quite there yet. Skift, another tourism media company, said 2022 will be travel's year of recovery. Expedia did a travel trends report. They are showing that travelers, there was a great pent-up demand to travel during the pandemic, but there was also pent-up savings. So they predicted that travelers are going to want to make this year's vacation the greatest of all trips. So they're looking at probably spending more and staying a little bit longer in each destination, treating themselves. But of course, inflation, those pent-up savings have all been impacted by inflation. And we also have a rental car shortage that is going to impact things as well. So our goals is to generate total registered room nights sold to 80% of 2019 levels for this year. We want to also, looking at our shoulder and winter seasons, have monthly occupancy rates that are getting us closer back to pre-pandemic levels. And we're also collaborating with partners to mitigate the labor shortage by all possible means. This is our marketing plan in a slide. I'm not going to go through it all, but it's a very tried and true process that we follow, where we follow targeting people with appropriate messages at every stage of their journey through the path to purchase. So if you're dreaming, if you're thinking, oh, I'd love to just get away, and you happen to be online, you might be on social media seeing, oh, my friend is doing this, and then checking some things out. In that case, we have certain tactics. If you're actively planning, if you say, you know, I've got a couple weeks in September, where can I go? You're starting to be a little bit more serious, so we have other content that would be designed to engage people a little bit more, educate them a little bit more. And when you're in the act of booking, we're trying to provide helpful information. We're trying to educate people that you can't come here and go around the Cabot Trail and leave. You've got to come and spend, you know, at least 5 days, hopefully 7 days or more on the island, and there's a lot more to visit around the island. And then when people are here experiencing the destination map, we're developing a digital app this year, and encouraging people to share content on social channels. But a lot of what we do these days is all digital based. It's probably 80 to 85% of our marketing budget these days is all digital.
Wow.
One of the things that we have this year that is a focus for us is our Year of Music. So this coming fall, we will be hosting a music tourism convention, and also Nova Scotia Music Week will be here in November. We just had, week before last, an activation at P.G. O'Brien's Pub in Toronto with Natalie Master, Danelle Leahy, and Cape Breton actor Billy McClellan was the MC for it. And we brought together a group of travel media, social media influencers, tour operators, and tried to just get the buzz, remind them what's so wonderful about Cape Breton Island, and everybody just had a great time. And we're already posting things about Cape Breton on their social channels, so it was great to see. We just found out, and we've got a call this week about Downtown's music series. So we've received some funding from ACOA for for a particular project that will run throughout the summer. And then last year, we were one of the partners provincially in the Patio Lanterns Festival that encouraged more live music to happen. We've been told, we don't have funds yet, but we've been told that it's gonna happen again, but it's going to be September and October. So that's going to extend how much music is happening around the island. We're also on our website enhancing the live music section and developing a mobile app for live music as well. Right now, if you didn't know, we're in the midst of waterfall season in Cape Breton Island.
It's been raining.
Yeah, for sure. So this is modeled a little bit after Tofino, BC. They have something that they developed a number of years ago called storm watching season. Now, basically, they had a slow period in the year, and they said, well, what do we have? You know, what are our assets? And it's like, well, we got a lot of storms, we get a lot of big surf, and so they created storm watching season. And there's not really any activities. You go and you put on your rubber boots and you go out and you do things like we would do all the time around here, I'm sure. But it's been incredibly successful. So one of the things that we found, there's this guy, Benoit Lalonde, who has written a book about, he's written one for Nova Scotia, but he wrote a book that was released last year, Waterfalls of Cape Breton. And he's actively going in and trying to find new waterfalls all the time. And he says Cape Breton is the Shangri-La of waterfalls because we're blessed to have so many and such a diversity. One of the things, whenever we post, whether it's a video, a photo of waterfall content, we have a blog about waterfalls on our website, it's really, really popular. And the spring, when we need to try to generate a little bit more visitation to our island, we have spring runoff and we have those April showers and that fills up all of our brooks and streams. So we've developed waterfall season. It's a test for this year, mid-May to the end of June, but we're featuring 12 waterfalls across the island, waterfalls that are either in the national park or provincial parks or are accessible where landowners are giving permission. Grand River Falls and Hill Lake Brook Falls would be two within your municipality. And we have a contest that encourages people to get out. If they download our app, they can get a QR code. There's a QR code at every waterfall that they take a picture of. Go to 3 and you're entered into a contest. A number of operators are providing guided hikes and experiences as well. And this was updated since I sent this to Yvonne, but there's about 15,000 page views now, which is a 10-fold increase of waterfall content over last year and over 600 app downloads. We're working with some partners on niche markets. One is luxury upscale travel, so we have a number of partners around the island that are interested in looking at this market. So it's early stages, but we're examining the potential for that. Sport fishing, the CEPI, the Collaborative Environmental Planning Initiative. I think last time I was here in person, they were presenting the same night. So we partnered with them on a sport fishing assessment specifically for the Bredor Lake, and the result that came back was that there definitely is potential, so that's something we're going to continue working with them on developing. One of the things that is going to be looked at through that is training a number of new guides, and in particular a number of Mi'kmaq guides that are very interested in getting into that in terms of a career path. Mountain biking is something that we've been working on with the Cape Breton Partnership and some municipalities around the island. And we're also looking at small meetings. We think that as we come out of this pandemic, there seems to be, with people working remotely, a lot of organizations and corporations are looking for opportunities to bring their teams together. So small meetings is an opportunity that we can pursue. I'm almost done. Mobile data research. So one of the things that we don't have a ton of on Cape Breton Island is really good data to go by. And we looked at mobile data as something that we could look at that would give us a better idea of our visitors, their demographics, their travel patterns, etc. There's a new solution that came out recently that is more affordable, so we've invested in that for the coming year. One of the good things is that it's going to give us data not just on Cape Breton Island as a whole, but we'll be able to drill down into certain areas. There will be regions like the South Coast, like the Bredora Lake districts, like Madam or the Dundee area, for example, and then even points of interest, like St. Peter's Marina or Point Michaud Beach, and we can provide data on who is visiting there. And so that data we will be sharing with the municipality and tourism operators, and hopefully it's going to allow us to work with potential investors and give them some really good data to make decisions on. And the final, I think this is the final slide. Some destination development activities, and Cindy has copies of our long-term strategy that we released just last year, and we've got a hard copy for everyone. But within that, there are a number of things that we've prioritized. First of all, it's working with partners to address and mitigate the current labor shortage. In particular, we're working with the Cape Breton Partnership on that. And we're also supporting CBU and the World Tourism Institute. They've started a project to look at education and training for the tourism industry, so we're working with them on that. Developing a sustainability plan for the Cape Breton Island tourism industry, and I was just a few weeks ago at a sustainable tourism conference in Victoria, and got some ideas. I'm going to talk to these gentlemen because one of the things that we don't have here that I found out that other areas have is a project that could be supported with carbon offsets. So sounds like that could be a winner for that. And the other thing that we're doing is just looking at our organization and evolving our organization to enhance our capacity to deliver upon our mandate. And that's it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That was a lot. So thank you, Terry. And do councillors have any questions for Terry?
Not as much a question, but the storm watch, the waterfall storm watch situation. I'm not a tourist, Terry, but I think we can all speak. Every time there's a windstorm or a rainstorm, whatever, you can witness the flow of traffic around this community, going to witness all this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that to me, that's a great idea, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw on Facebook the other day, somebody had posted a video of where the real magic is in Grand River Falls, Councillor Sampson, and it was a video of the fish moving under the water, and it was so busy and alive. It was really, really interesting, so a really great idea. I did have a question about the shared accommodations stats that you had put up earlier. We can see that trending up a little bit, but I feel like maybe it's even higher, because would those be shared accommodations that are registered under TARA, like the Tourism Accommodation Registry Act?
No, that's
Or
data
lower?
from a
Okay.
company called AirDNA.
Okay.
And it's the best data that there is, but
Yeah.
Airbnb probably has the best data.
Mhm.
They don't publish it.
Mhm.
But and that's mainly Airbnb and a little bit of VRBO. There are some other platforms
Okay.
that are not included in that, but
Okay.
so that's basically what we have. But
So
the
probably
trend
more
is-
accurate, because I know that with a tourism accommodation registry, you don't have to register if it's less than 4 units or something like that. And I think many places are less than 4 units in Richmond County in particular, you know.
Yeah, the provincial
Yeah.
government just announced, I don't think it's been passed yet, but they just announced their intent to change that, so it's mandatory for all
Great.
accommodations.
Okay. And I just wanted to thank you for teaching me the term goat.
Oh.
What was it? Greatest of all trips? I hadn't seen that before.
It usually means greatest of all time. but
I
it's
didn't
easier
know
to
that
mean
one,
greatest of all
so
trips.
I'm definitely at the dreaming of goat stage. So, And another question, you know, you mentioned labor continues to be the driving factor behind, you know, business decisions about not opening all week long, or, you know, the amount of shifts they can provide. CBU had a shuttle, I know it's not the name of it, a shuttle program in the past. I don't think you mentioned, did I miss that if you mentioned it? Are they going to be doing it again, do you know?
They are doing it again.
It's going to happen again, so we'll have international students
Yeah.
being shuttled to locations in Richmond County and throughout rural Cape Breton to
Yeah.
help offset that. That's
Yeah.
really great to hear.
Well, that's really been
Yeah,
a godsend
Yeah.
for the industry. for many
absolutely,
operators, yeah.
absolutely. I didn't know if COVID had kind of impacted their ability to do that or
Yeah.
not again. That's great. When will that start, do you know?
It's already started.
Oh.
I passed one on my drive up here.
Fantastic, all right. Good to know, okay. Are there any other questions for Terry or Cindy?
Just nice to see things coming back.
Yeah. So generally, Jean, we would reserve questions for council members, but I'll let you guys connect afterwards. It sounds like you have some opportunities cooking there, so some synergy that could maybe find, so. All right, well, thank you very much to both of you for coming in this evening, and yeah, if there's no further questions, we'll let you out of the hot seat.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Happy to chat, Jane. Anytime.
With the indulgence of the council, we were remiss in not mentioning that Terry is supportive and Cape Breton, destination Cape Breton as well of our
Yeah,
project.
that's
And
great.
you didn't know you were speaking tonight, so it's fun. I didn't
No,
know
you were
here.
speaking.
That worked out.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, folks.
Yes.
So the next item on our agenda is Air Shack Community Development Association update, and I think we have Rochelle Sampson with us here this evening, so welcome, Rochelle, and we'll hand the floor over to you. You can just introduce yourself, and I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you guys for having me tonight. I know I've been here a few times, so it should get easier, you know? Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name's Rochelle Sampson. I am many things, but tonight I am here as the president of the Air Shack Community Development Association, which is a recently registered charity that is working on the development of a recreation park just here in Air Shack. So I have two goals for tonight. One is I would like to provide an update to councillors and to residents on where we're at and what we've accomplished thus far. Two, I would like to make a request to council for some support on one of the major components of the project. So I'd like to start off by saying that we have successfully raised $250,000 towards
Wow.
this project in 2 short but long COVID years. So we hope that that demonstrates our commitment to the development of this project, and it's been very successful thus far, so that's great. Second thing I would like to note is that I understand that the position of a councillor is not always an easy one. You guys make decisions on a regular basis for what you feel is the greater good, and that's for a group of people, and so usually with a group of people you can't please them all. So as a fresh council, I appreciate what you guys have been doing and how you've been doing it and how things are being handled, and so I'm looking forward to working with you guys a little bit more on this project.
Thank you.
So as councillors, I think you may be aware and you may not be aware of the Canada Community Building Fund, and you guys may be able to tell me more about this than I know thus far. So with that fund, I'm just going to read, it used to be the gas tax fund. So what I found on the internet, and I've done a bit of research myself on what this is, so it suggests that the Canada Community Building Fund is a permanent source of funding provided upfront, twice a year, to provinces and territories who in turn flow this funding to their municipalities to support local infrastructure priorities. Municipalities can pool, bank, and borrow against this funding, providing significant financial flexibility. So we, the ACDA, did some research on a couple of things for municipalities. One, we looked at other municipalities on how they distributed these funds. Two, if other municipalities owned and maintained parks or supported community groups that did. And three things that just worked for the municipalities when working with community groups and what didn't. So we came into a lump of information, and I'm not here to share that all or tell you guys how to do your job in any way or sort. It was just more for how to approach the council on what we could ask for and how we could ask for it, essentially. So in general, what we discovered was that there is support one way or another for parks similar to what we're trying to do, whether it be financial, whether it be staff hours or help with the maintenance or insurance or similar things of the sort. So one thing I want to touch on, and it's a bit of a bigger picture, is that a lot of the families that we talk to when building this park, because we think it's important to have community involvement, state to us that almost every weekend in the summertime they're taking them and their families to the town of Roxbury to attend their park and to use their their components of their park, specifically the splash pad. So in return, they are then spending their money at their restaurants, their gas stations, and their grocery stores, and not ours, not the ones in Richmond County, which we have plenty of, which are mostly small businesses and locally owned, and not big farmers like Sobeys and situations as such, right? So it's a real big miss for our community, and I think that's a big driving factor for us to ensure that we put that splash pad there in order to keep those community members in town and spending money locally. So a big hinge in our project right now is determining how to get water to the park. We understand that that's not a small portion of the project, and it takes some time and some thought to make sure that it's done safely, properly, and most importantly done once and done right. So we are looking to have the council guarantee, or I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but to have council allocate staff, the appropriate staff, to work with us to help determine the safest and most efficient way to get water to the park in order to have a splash pad. We think a splash pad is beneficial for multiple reasons, one being tourism, two being child development, and three being the increase of socialization post-COVID. We have an estimated budget of around $50,000 to $60,000 of trying to get water there. We've looked at a couple of different options, whether that be running it from the school, running it from the main, or running it from the closest line. We've had preliminary discussions with Chris some time ago, but we cannot continue with the project until we decide where we're going to run the water, because we don't want to start putting in infrastructure and then having to dig it up and do it again. So we think it's really important to have a good relationship with the county and make sure that you guys are involved in these conversations where you have the appropriate staff. You guys are the most knowledgeable on, where the water is and where it goes and how it should, run. The splash pad is going to function mostly in the off season of the school, which would mean that when the school is not operating, the splash pad would be on. The splash pad is on a timer, so the water is not continuously running, and it's a bit more economic that way. So it's a bit of an investment into the future, but it's an investment in the community, and we think it's extremely important, and it's something we're looking to go forward with the partnership of the county.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Rochelle. Is that your?
That is my spiel.
That's your spiel. Okay. Well, thank you very much, councillors. Do you have any questions for Rochelle?
Yeah, so you said you had some conversations with Chris.
Yep.
What was his
I think
approach?
it's a bit of a scary thing. It's a big project in one sense, right? So I can understand that sometimes the approach is anything that can go wrong or that it's not possible. And we understand that. It's a big project. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not interested in not doing it. So it's going to get done either way. But I just think it's very important that you guys are included in the conversation so it's done right.
Yeah.
We don't want to put something in and then it have to be torn up for any reason or another, or it not work the best possible way that it could.
Yeah.
So Chris definitely said it was possible. I think he recommended it coming from the main, which of
Right.
course would be the most expensive. But definitely doable.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was going to see what he recommended, the best option for you guys.
Yeah, we
So
had
he
talked
said the main
about,
one?
so the school, the water starts on the soccer field side. So the only thing would be you'd have to run it in behind, so you'd have to do a bit of digging, put some pipe in, and connect it, which is still possible. Again, we have the equipment, we have the resources, so not out of the question. But it would just be more beneficial for us to have that backup or that conversation before approaching the CSAP and having that conversation with them. We would like the most leverage possible before entering that chat.
So running it from the main would mean from down here
From the, yeah,
uphill.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would just mean the most pipe.
Right, yeah.
It would impact pavement though
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah.
dig either way.
However, it would be a great time to do it, considering we're looking at putting
The sidewalks
the
for the school
sidewalk
going up here.
and
yeah.
the paving project on that side anyway first.
Yeah. So Rochelle, just so I'm clear, you mentioned the CCBF
Yep.
money. So as I'm not sure if you've been following our budget discussions, but we do have a pretty significant infrastructure deficit that I know our public works staff is really trying to protect those funds as much as possible to public works, although we recognize there's value in other investments,
Right.
you know, and we've made that decision as a council to put monies elsewhere when,
Yeah.
you know, in incremental amounts, I guess I would suggest, in comparison to the fund. But is there, because I've heard you ask, request that we ask staff to support your work, but you're also looking for a particular amount of money from council, or?
We're, at this time, not a specific
Okay.
amount. I think it's been a little bit hard asking other levels of government for support without a significant amount of support from the municipality. Now, we understand that it might not be financial, but if we had more of a working relationship with council in order to complete what we're trying to complete, I think that would give us more leverage when asking for grants and when displaying what we're trying to do to other levels of government for their money.
And would a letter of support help you at all?
We have one,
Yes.
so
I'm
it has
just thinking
definitely helped,
something-
for sure, and
Yeah.
we got 7,500 as a grant as well.
Right, yeah,
Just where it's $1 million project, it's a bit small.
right.
So we're just looking to increase our relationship and maybe work with Recreation a little bit more and work with Chris a little bit more, just on the particulars of the project.
Okay.
And then if there is an option to apply for more grants, we're definitely going to put our name in the ballot.
Okay. So, I mean, myself, I would be hesitant to commit any staff time without talking with staff about that, and I know Karen, Chris is not here this evening, but perhaps we could leave that in your hands to maybe chat with him to see what is in the realm of possibility. This is a really, really busy time of year for public works staff.
I
of
figure it's
course.
Ryan up for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
So could we leave that with you, perhaps?
absolutely.
Yeah, I guess, again, just to reiterate, is just that we can't, we don't want to confirm a plot
Yeah.
without confirming the water. So
Right.
it's, we have enough funds to go ahead this summer to do a portion of it, but we're hesitant.
Right.
Yeah, and I think where you're going, Rochelle, and where I would go when it comes to recreation is that I don't think you're looking for recreation to drop everything,
No.
but pretty much to put a stamp on, or have some kind of say, or work with you to make this project go. I think that's where you're going with this, and I think that should be all recreation situations, you know what I mean? Our department should,
Well,
you know,
yeah, and
I'm not saying drop everything, Madam Morton, but
Yeah.
our recreation department should be involved in projects like this, hands down, no questions asked, in my opinion, right?
Well, I'm wondering if that could happen through our recreation committee. It might be a great spot to kind of,
Yeah, get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
you know,
and, yeah.
bring it
Yeah, I
to
would,
committee
Yeah.
level.
again, yeah, and I'm on the committee, and I would agree with Councillor Sampson. It's, you know, a project of this magnitude, to sit back and just kind of let it flow on its own isn't what we want, really. Again, the input and the $250,000, raising the funds, like you said, over the last couple of years, for us to, I guess, sit back and wait
Right. Yeah.
isn't moving forward. So, yeah, I think we gotta do several things. One is we gotta reach out to Recreation Committee and kind of get the ball rolling, and maybe have our CAO reach out to staff and see, where we can use some hours. And again, it's not to dedicate every hour of the staff, but, we do have, I guess the first priority is to sit back and sit down and figure out with yourself where the pipe is going to be ran, so you can, if not work on the splash pad, work on the rest of the infrastructure.
Exactly, that's
And
all we
that's
need
the-
to determine, is
Right.
just where the pipe's gonna come from, just so we don't put anything
Excuse
on
me.
top of that.
So rather,
Yeah.
rather than overcomplicating things anymore, would it make sense to just make a motion to ask staff to get back to us with a report as to possibilities for how this water could be run?
I I just don't know if we can commit to doing that, Councillor Sampson, in time, because I can't really comment on the public works staff workload. I'd kind of rather leave it with the CAO or the interim CAO for now to confer with Chris and to talk with you about your timeline and what you need and when.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just a little hesitant to overcommit when we don't.
And communicate back to everybody.
Right.
Through email sooner than later, okay, so everybody's.
Yeah.
Can I ask for like a 30-day return?
Sure.
Like I can know back in 30
We won't
days?
leave you hanging for
Okay.
30 days.
And we understand where this project was so large 2 years ago, and we came forth with this, and it was a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah.
We can understand that the council didn't just jump right into it and be a part of it, because I'm sure a lot of people come to you guys with presentations and ideas, and you can't support them all, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But where we've shown a level of dedication, and where this project has turned into $1 million infrastructure project right in the town, right in the county of Richmond for all of its residents, at this point, we do ask a little more.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a great project, Rochelle. You guys
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
you're
And
doing
I
a
like
great
your
job.
idea about the recreation committee, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we know you're busy, Rochelle, and you got a lot on your plate, so instead of you coming here to update us, our recreation committee could be updating us on working with Rochelle, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I think, yeah, like Rochelle said, I think we gotta,
yeah. And just
We gotta
keeping
get
in
more on
mind,
board.
we currely have a gap in our staffing
Yeah.
with,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Oh, I'm
Right.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
with the,
Yeah.
you know, hiring a new
Yeah.
recreation manager,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, which will be great too.
Yeah.
That'll be-
Yeah, and I mean, and we also, just approved another position in Public Works, and so what, you know what
Exactly.
I mean, that will relieve some of the pressure, but when all of those things
Yeah.
come to
Yeah.
fruition, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, so I think for now, we could give you the commitment to follow back up with you in a
Yeah.
timely manner, and have Karen kind of confer with staff, and she can update the rest of us, and, yeah.
Now, I do, well, and I don't know, maybe you did apply, maybe you didn't. I didn't see it come through, but again, last year's budget was when you had got the
Mhm.
$7,500 towards the project, so
Yep.
she still would be eligible to apply again this year for,
Yep.
right?
That's right.
Yeah, we didn't, we had gotten the approval that we could hold off another year before spending it,
Yes.
just where we weren't ready. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And,
So-
and that's
they
what.
have to use that before they can apply again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is fair. And what we understood from a lot of other municipalities is that's how it functions. The
Yeah.
county puts out grants and you apply for grants, and if you get it, you get it, and that's how
Yeah.
it works. We don't expect, the entire recreation department to do the project. That's why we've all committed and we're ready to put in the time, so. My only other question, I guess, regarding the CCBF fund, is that something that you can apply for, or is that part of the money that's used in the grants, or?
So we have, that's a great question, and it's $1 million question, literally, in this case. But, so where we're at with CCBF is that, we have traditionally used it for items that are part of our capital plan. And we've already approved that for this year,
Yep.
last month. However, we have also, I think, referred it to policy and bylaw, if I'm not mistaken.
It's there.
It's there, yeah. And so what we'll be doing is trying to develop some policy around it. So maybe we will be looking at percentages in parks and rec versus, water and sewer infrastructure versus whatever. I'm not sure how that's gonna play out.
Yep.
But right now, there's not really a set way for community groups to apply for it, right?
I'm just glad to see it in the discussions, like I had seen it
Yeah.
on the agenda prior, so I'm just glad it's being talked about.
Yeah,
out
I
there,
think
and
we-
you guys are working towards something. so it's-
Exactly, we are working
That's
towards
awesome.
something, and so we'll kind of keep projects like yours in mind, I guess, as we go there, right? I think will be important, so,
That's great.
yeah, okay.
That's all I had, so
Great.
I will, I'll wait to hear back.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you guys.
thank you
Thanks for
very
all your
much.
hard work on that project.
you.
It's a
I
big
know,
one.
phenomenal
It's
effort.
been an adventure.
I bet you.
Learning a lot. Thank you guys.
thank you, Rochelle.
Okay, thanks, Rochelle. All right, so that brings us to the next item on our agenda. So I have several items by way of, I guess, information update. So we'll begin with Develop Nova Scotia regarding a broadband update. So this was really just on the agenda to notify the public that on June 1st, several members of council attended a virtual update from Develop Nova Scotia regarding the broadband rollout specific to Richmond County progress. A few key points I wanted to mention that Develop Nova Scotia provided us is that based on their estimates, and the design drawings that they have right now, there will be 93 people underserved in Richmond County at the end of 2023 by their estimations. So if we could get to that, I think we'll be in a lot better shape than what we are right now. But of course, I know 2023 can't come soon enough for some folks who are underserved now. The bulk of the work that they have ongoing right now is in the make-ready stage, which is clearing brush, poles, permits, etc. Crossing waterways, railroad tracks, and 100 series highways can often cause delays and change the infrastructure requirements. So it's really difficult for them to pinpoint specific dates sometimes. But they have changed their webpage, and I think the URL is internet.developns.ca, and you can now search by community. And so if you put your community name in there, I just wanted members of the public to be aware, you can search by community, and it will bring up a map of your area that where you can see kind of the timeline and what the coverage will be for your area. And basically what we've learned is that on the maps, if you're in the red zone, the intent is that is that if you're served by commercial power, then you can get coverage as a part of their rollout. So that's really great news. It provided us with some certainty, I think, on behalf of our constituents. Also wanted to mention to the public that the service delivery agreement for 10 years that they have with the service provider means that the service provider must meet certain technical, customer service, scalability, and pricing criteria for those 10 years, and Develop Nova Scotia has a plan in place to monitor that. So that's really good news. And yeah, I have a little note about requesting staff to add Develop Nova Scotia presentation to the website, but they've already done that. And so I was really glad to see that up there, and so would encourage members of the public to check that out on our website. And yeah, so councillors have anything that you might want to add about that for those who were able to attend?
Oh, I thought it was a great presentation, and like you said, Madam Warden, I mean, people can go on to this link into this website and punch in an address, and if you're in red, your zone is in red, then you're good to go.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
It's very encouraging and exciting. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Great to hear the granular level of planning when they can tell us that 93 people will be left underserved, and then they will be looking in the next stage for solutions for those folks. It's pretty granular.
Yeah, it's something we had asked for the last time and they weren't quite sure, so it's nice to see a
nice to
number.
see that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Service Exchange Renegotiation and MGA Review Committee Survey. So that's a mouthful, affectionately known as CERMGAR. The original deadline for completion of the survey was today, but NSFM has extended the time, and they'll be leaving the survey open. So the plan is, I guess at this stage, is we do need to respond on behalf of council. My suggestion is that we find a way of doing that would include both council input and input from senior staff. So would like to hear some thoughts from councillors about how we could perhaps get the process rolling on that. If someone would like to volunteer to create an initial draft.
She's talking about me because we already talked about it.
I knew in my computer expertise she wasn't looking at me.
Yeah, so we had talked about, that I could give it a first run and go through and put some ideas down, and then perhaps the warden, we could circulate it through everyone and just fine tune it from there.
Yeah. And I'd love if we could make it a goal to get it in by Wednesday of next week, because it's an important piece of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And maybe, so Deputy Warden, if maybe you and I could work on that, and then we can make sure, Karen, that gets circulated through staff as well and council. Okay. Great. So any questions about that or comments that people wanted to add regarding the CERMGAR committee survey? I wasn't saying that whole thing all over again. All right, so hearing none, I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the special events bylaw. So, given that council has no bylaw in place for special events, and we have recently had a noise exemption request come through, I've several of us thought it would be wise to add this to the agenda this evening. Noise exemption right now is currently our only tool for providing any kind of authorization for special events to take place in our municipality. We currently do not have the authority, because there's no bylaw in place, to say yes or no to whether or not a special event of any kind is held. So I guess I'm asking for council's opinion at this point as to whether or not we should entertain having a bylaw in place, such as the one that was provided in the meeting package, which is a sample from Antigonish County. And would, I guess, be interested in hearing whether or not you'd like to refer this to Bylaw and Policy Committee for further discussion.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to refer it, just because it's obviously a well-thought-out bylaw. There's a lot in it, and based on the fact that we have nothing in place right now, really, I think it would make perfect sense, so we're not kind of caught flat-footed in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna cover off point 9, Madam Warden, because I added this noise bylaw situation to the agenda tonight, and this speaks of this, I had a conversation with a resident this week, and she spoke of this, and looking at our bylaw, more or less, right? So, she had some questions and concerns, so, I mean, when you look at this document from the town of Antigonish compared to what we have in place, you're talking.
They're two separate things, though.
I realize
it's just
that.
the special events.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, though, we also want to be careful in how we're going to micromanage anybody putting on an event, because again, special event, are we talking a ball tournament?
Well,
Are we talking,
it's
well,
750
special
and
event
over, right?
means a musical, culture, athletic, or sporting event held
Right.
outdoors or partly outdoors.
Right.
Again, if,
But that's
So
what,
Councillor
that's
Dignam,
what this was.
yeah, what
Yeah.
I would suggest is that we would have discussion on the details of it at
Correct.
policy and bylaw.
Right.
Because I'm not suggesting the Antigonish sample is the right size for Richmond County. I just don't want to get into that level of detailed discussion
I-
here, because it
Yeah, yeah.
belongs
I
in
believe
committee.
their minimum number was 750, was
It
it
was.
not? So that's a pretty large event kind of thing, and we wouldn't have to follow that, it's just a starting place.
Right, but a lot of the special event stuff will have to go to our bylaw, our noise
Yeah.
bylaw as well, right? So it's almost a conversation that, that's almost a detailed
may
conversation.
impact one
Right,
another.
I mean, this resident asked me about 12 AM to 7 AM noise bylaw, and she seems to think special event or not, is anything on the table from 7:01 to 11:59,
Right, okay,
right?
So
And that's
I-
a very valid
So-
question.
yeah.
Right? So, can we have loud music play from 7:01 in the morning to 11:59 at night?
Yeah,
Because our noise bylaw says it's only 12 AM to 7 AM,
okay.
right?
So we may be looking at 2 referrals then back to
Yeah.
bylaw and policy, but Deputy Warden, you had a comment?
Yeah, so I definitely am in support of moving this to bylaw and policy. I think it's a gap in our bylaws. I also, I guess, would like to, add to that to say, in preparation for that meeting, I'd like to see staff do a bit of a sweep across the province to see what other bylaws exist regarding special events, and perhaps like distilling it into like a bit of a chart or something that could be easy for us to use as a guide,
A
right?
menu.
Right, like they have this many people, they have 200, they have 300 or whatever.
Right.
And again, not that we want to spend a ton of time, but I think, good governance would just say that we look at different options and then
Yeah.
pick what fits best for us, to Councillor Dignan's point.
Okay. So the recommendation then is to refer to policy and bylaw and to do a bit of an analysis on
Yeah.
similar bylaws across the province?
Yeah.
I like,
I'll second
I like
that.
this, yeah. And I mean, this mentions an enforcement officer. We don't have an enforcement officer, right?
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I mean, it would
Yeah,
have to
so
be,
yeah, that's a
these are
discussion for
details.
bylaw policy, yeah, for sure,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So, no, thank you. So I think the decision then is to refer to bylaw and policy. I don't think traditionally we've needed a motion for that. We'll just add that to our next agenda. And so, we will come back to your noise one.
I think we need a motion to
We
refer
usually
to.
Do we usually
Yeah,
do a
we usually
motion?
do,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm lost here in the special events bylaw. Okay, thank you for the prompt. So, Deputy Warden, would you like to make that motion?
Yes.
To refer, special events bylaw for discussion at, Bylaw and Policy Committee? And could I have a second?
And to ask
And to ask
prepare.
staff to prepare an analysis
Yes,
of
thank
other
you.
similar bylaws in the province, okay?
Do you wanna maybe do a separate one, because I think that staff one might be a recommendation to council,
Okay,
but the other one's gonna.
Happen automatically?
Yeah.
Fair.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll split it in 2. So the first will be to refer special events bylaw to policy and bylaw committee.
So,
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden.
Second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And then I think we would be looking for a motion to have staff do a scan of the province and provide an analysis on similar types of bylaws out there. So, could I-
And provided at the bylaw policy meeting or the other.
Sure,
Yeah.
to take to bylaw and policy.
Thank
Okay.
you. So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder
I'll
on that?
second that.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. So the motion is to request staff do a provincial scan of special events type bylaws and bring information back to Policy and Bylaw Committee. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is, provincial housing engagement opportunity. And so we've received an invitation to participate in the Nova Scotia Housing Needs Assessment, which is one of the recommendations from the Affordable Housing Commission report. They're inviting CAOs, key municipal staff members at the CAO's discretion, as well as members of council to participate in an engagement session that would be specific to Richmond County. They are also launching a public survey, and that survey is their primary tool for engaging directly with the public. And as you'll recall, councillors, from several months back, we talked about having a housing survey at the municipal level, similar to what other municipalities have done, but we decided to, I think, wait in favor of the provincial survey that we knew was coming out. And so it's finally here, and so I guess it would invite some discussion on how we can support these efforts to ensure that we have wide public participation in that housing survey. I think I would also like to engage with the assessment organizers to find out if we will be able to get county level data from it.
Yes.
So I'll commit to following up with them to ask that question. But any thoughts from councillors on how we could maybe ensure that that survey gets widely distributed to the public? Perhaps we could do up a little release on our website, social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Perhaps we
sure.
could engage our partners at Tellil. Okay, so if it's appropriate, Karen, perhaps we could leave that with you, and you and I can maybe work on a little bit of a dissemination for that. Would that make sense?
So you're thinking of a link of that survey on your website with just a bit of a caption
Mhm.
and tell
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I think so. And I think some of that text has already been provided in the email. We could probably do some copy pasting, yeah.
Should we also reach out, I noticed there's a Nova Scotia Housing Needs Assessment, but should we also reach out to our Breton Housing? To,
So,
maybe they already reached out, I'm just,
yeah, so I mean, they would be, I'm sure, a stakeholder in this process, in the
Yes,
engagement
yeah.
process, but, yeah.
And then there's some public sessions in September and October, so certainly we would
Yeah.
want to talk about that at our committee of the whole meetings, I think,
Right.
just to get the word out a bit, to get people to those sessions
That's-
once the
that's a
dates
great
are
point.
released.
Yeah, so we could maybe add that to the agendas
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, and they're looking for CAO key municipal staff and council to participate in the sessions.
Mhm.
So I'm also wondering if it may be reasonable for us to reach out to the project manager, even just by email, or even to Ryan at Upland,
Mhm.
and just remind them of like key dates for us as council, like committee of the whole and regular council meetings, so that hopefully they could plan those sessions on dates where we actually could attend. You know what I mean? Like, we already have dates of things that are pre-planned in
That's right.
September and
Yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Maybe we should provide them with what we're already booked in for, so we could try to attend those sessions, because I think they will be important to attend.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a great suggestion. All right, any other thoughts on dissemination? Okay. So we will leave it at that. So the next item on our agenda are the strategic plan open houses, and this is just again for information purposes because the time is upon us. So
Yes.
hoping that members of the public will be able to attend one of our sessions. We've got then beginning tomorrow evening, Tuesday, June 14th at 6 p.m. in Almadam at the New Horizons Seniors Club in Ayrshire. The next session is on Wednesday the 15th at 6 p.m. At the Louisdale Fire Hall and Grand Dance. And then the final open house is at the St. Peter's Lions Hall on Thursday, June 16th at 6 p.m. So really encouraging members of the public to get out to one of those engagement sessions if at all possible. So any questions or comments about that? Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. All right, so next item is community acknowledgements. And I do have several to share, so maybe I'll just get started if that's okay. I wanted to just say a congratulations to the St. Peter's Village Commission on receiving funding towards a new community park area in the former Irving parking lot in the middle of the village. The community engagement session that they're hosting is coming up on June 23rd at the Lions Hall, and they're encouraging members of the public to attend and provide their input on what that could look like. So it's a great leap forward because it's been a bit of a missing tooth in the middle of our village as a vacant parking lot. Also wanted to say a congratulations, of course, to all of the graduates of the Strait Area campus at NSCC. This past week, on Thursday of last week, I was proud to represent Richmond County there, and it was somebody should have warned me to bring Kleenex, and they didn't. So it was a moving ceremony, and I think in part because it's the first one in almost 3 years that we had obviously in person. So congratulations to all of the graduates, especially those graduates from Richmond County, of course, and to all of the high school graduates, which will be coming up at the end of the month, and to which we've received a lovely invitation to the Richmond Academy graduating class coming up on June 28th. And of course to the CSAP and Ellen Lafford High School graduates as well. So congratulations everyone, it's an exciting time of year. And last but not least for me, I wanted to say a congratulations to Lillian O'Hearn of Rocky Bay. She is Richmond County's Volunteer of the Month for May 2022. So just a big thank you to Lillian for the important work she does in her community. And of course, recently received an honor from the Garden Club as well, I think, as, I don't know, Councillor Digdon, I'll let you maybe fill in some blanks on there.
Yeah, she was, she's quite the lady, 89 years old, and she can name pretty much every flower, every plant, everything you can eat and not eat, I guess. So she's definitely a full wealth of knowledge in one little package. Very helpful. She, anybody who needs any information on planting, I definitely
Contact Lillian.
100% contact Lillian.
That's fantastic. Wonderful resource to have in our community for sure. And I don't know, Deputy Warden, if you wanted to mention anything about the NSCC graduation. I probably stole some of your thunder there, but it was a pretty moving ceremony.
I mean, I think it's important to note, of course, that the NSCC Gold Medal winner, which is awarded to the student with the highest academic average in a certificate program, is from right here in Richmond County. Her name is Emma Wire, and she was actually a student of mine this year.
Wow.
Great young lady and a great student, so congratulations to her.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, so any other community acknowledgements?
I just want to acknowledge, the last little while, we've seen some community groups, cleanup groups, clean up the coastal shorelines and lighthouses and all that stuff, right? So there's many groups around Richmond County that do this on a regular basis. We have people that go for walks just for exercise, that pick up roadside garbage, right? And so all these volunteers that are doing these cleanups around our county, I just want to acknowledge them and say thank you for their hard work.
Well said, for sure. Okay, so if there are no others, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is under Councillor Mike Digdon regarding the look off at Bavins Hill. So Councillor, over to you.
Yeah, so I don't know. Everybody should be aware that comes on Highway 206, I guess, or 320, depending how you make the loop. But right on the Bavins Hill look-off, the County of Richmond owns the PID number 751-78897, which is right from the corner to go down on the low road to the look-off right now, which is possibly almost an acre of property. We also own the property on the lower road to the ocean. So I'd just like to bring the, you know, I've had many residents in my area look to expand or look off, and it's a great location for somebody to pull over. It's probably one of our highest peak points where you can still see, you know, one of the lighthouses. You can still see right across the whole strait. I know they're looking at, I believe, Margaret Herdman and some of the others are looking at putting a, I don't want to say a plaque, but
Interpretive panel.
yeah, interpretive panel right there as well. So, you know, I just think it's a great time and a great investment for us to expand that, to make it a little bigger. So I don't know if we want to, how we go about, I guess, reaching out to staff to look at clearing that property. I guess would be my recommendation, or.
Okay, so it's kind of a discussion on the feasibility of that, is that what you're?
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, it's like everything else, money out isn't always money in, but again, it's a great look-off point for anybody coming onto the island. So it's, you know, you capture all the boats coming in and out of the strait. You can see straight across, you can see the lighthouse, it's a great look-off point for everybody.
Okay.
It is still a look-off now, though. People can still go and park and.
They can, but it's limited to 2 or 3 cars at most.
Yeah. I think there's one picnic table.
There's one picnic table, so it's just, yeah. And again, I walked it several times. It probably extends almost another 100 feet past so the upper part, where it's, I guess, barriered off, goes over the side of an embankment. But when you actually walk down maybe 50 feet or so, you can walk out almost another 100 feet past, where we could extend it or expand it. I personally have no, like I said before, I personally have no problem clearing the land and giving the wood to whoever wants it. But I guess as the councillor, we're not allowed just to cut our own wood.
No. There'd be some serious liability issues with that. But, okay, so I guess your request then is to perhaps ask staff to do a little bit of an assessment or an
Yeah.
initial investigation into what's possible, or is that?
I guess, yeah, maybe, you know, it might be a multi-step project, so
Yeah.
if clearing the trees is number one, then maybe we can ask staff at getting a quote on just, you know, removing the trees from that area.
Yeah. I think
I
before
think a hazard assessment would
I
probably be a
think
number one
exactly,
piece,
I
right? Like
think-
whether or not it's
Yeah.
safe to do so. Like, it appears safe to you, and I'm not, could be safe, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Right.
So I think the number one piece would be to ask, you know,
Yeah.
sounds like a great plan,
Yeah.
but just to ask staff to assess like whether it can be done, and if it could, what would that even look like?
Yeah, okay,
'Cause I think it's probably a bigger project than we may think it is.
I agree. So, so perhaps we could just refer this back to you, Karen, to discuss with Public Works. And I think we need to keep in mind that this is, again, a really busy time of year for Public Works staff.
Yes.
So, you know, maybe, you know, in terms of expectation, probably not a lot gonna happen this build season, but I think it would be at least start with a conversation. We could maybe leave it there. Is
Yeah,
that-
so it is kind of like a new project, which we haven't, you know, assigned budget for or
Right.
whatever, so
That's right.
we have to.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of thinking into what that potentially could be, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Okay, so the next item, Councillor Sean Sampson, noise control bylaw number 65, and I think we had some initial discussion already.
Yeah,
We'd
for
simply
sure.
like to refer this back to bylaw policy.
Yeah, yep, for sure,
review?
please, yep.
Yeah, great,
Makes sense.
yeah, for sure, okay. So could I have a motion to refer noise control back to bylaw and policy committee, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so we have lots of correspondence to deal with, but we are on page 2 of our agenda, which we are
Which is
getting
exciting
there.
in itself.
All right, so the initial piece of correspondence is from Eastern District Planning Commission regarding building permits policy amendment. The information has been provided in your package, and would, I guess, just indicate that they've made a recommendation that we adopt a different rate structure for building permit fees, and amend the bylaw. So, discussion from council, would you be in favor of making that amendment?
Yeah, before we go any further, I was just thinking about it. It's not something we're going into often, but I think it'd probably be appropriate for me in this case, just being in the construction industry, to declare a conflict on this item.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you, Councillor Sampson, yeah. So Councillor Brent Sampson has declared a conflict, as this may impact his day job. All right, so, you know, I think in conversations with John Bain, he's indicated that it's been about 10 years since there was any kind of an increase. And he is recommending, obviously, that we go forward. It would, you know, these increases wouldn't put us out of line with other jurisdictions in the province, so. Councillors in favor of the increase?
I mean, I think it's important to note as well, right, is that the board did approve these increases. So
Yes.
the increases are happening regardless of our decision here today. Who pays for the difference is what is kind of the question here today. And he did, you know, indicate that in the past, for a time, the municipality had kind of borne that like extra fee in the previous increase, but that didn't last long, because of course it doesn't really make
It's not
sense for the
sustainable.
entire populace of the county to
Mhm.
cover the additional costs of building permits. So certainly for me, I would approve it because the their board has approved it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Councillor.
yeah, I agree with Deputy Warden. I mean, the board unanimously voted to amend this and to take John Bain's recommendation and move it forward. And again, when it comes to the percentages of what this increased permit fees is going to entail, we're talking like, you know, not even 1%, maybe 1/4% of someone's total construction value, right? So I think it's necessary to take that step forward, yep.
Okay, Councillor Digdon, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with Deputy Warden Councillor Sampson, although I do believe it's, well, according to the list, it's $40 for $1,000 of construction value. So it's actually greater than,
No, it's $2 for every 1,000
Yeah.
of construction value plus a $40 permit fee.
okay, so is it just the way it's written?
Yeah.
That I'm just reading.
$40 is the fee.
$40
Plus
fee.
$2 per
Yeah,
$1,000
for every 1,000.
of construction value.
So
Well,
what's-
for residential,
For
there's
residential.
different, there's
Yeah.
different rates
Yeah,
for different
so
groups.
what we're talking to Councillor Digdon is that on a $500,000 total value of construction, you're looking at 2% of the cost for every 1,000. So you're looking at $1,000 plus $40 for a permit fee. You're looking at $1,040 for a permit for a total
Yeah.
construction value of 500,000. It's like 1/4%
Yeah.
of your
Yeah,
total
40,
value,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't think anybody that's building a $500,000 building is going to pull the plug on it for
Yeah.
for 1/4%.
Okay.
So our action here is to is there something we need to, are we passing a motion to accept their
Yes.
fee structure?
Yes.
And then do we have anything that we need in terms of other documents, like policies that need to be amended to reflect that?
Just bylaw 61
Yeah, okay,
is the
is the one we're gonna need
is the
to,
one we're gonna need to amend.
okay,
So I'll state, if you're all in favor, I'll
Please.
state the motion,
yes.
and then I'll look for a mover and a
Yeah.
seconder, okay? So the motion would be that the council of the municipality of Richmond, of the county of Richmond, in accordance with section 49(1)(c)(2) of the Municipal Government Act, which states 49(1), the council may make policies, C, setting and amending the fees to be paid for, an inspection required or conducted pursuant to a bylaw of the municipality or an enactment, adopt the attached fee structure effective July 1st, 2022. July 1st, 2022. I'm just going to read those fees. Effective July 1st, the fees for an application for and the issuance of a building permit shall be as follows. Residential construction, including modular and mobile homes, Part 9 National Building Code, would be $40 permit fee plus $2 for $1,000 of construction value. Commercial, institutional, industrial construction, assembly buildings, Part 3 of the National Building Code would be $40 permit fee plus $3 per $1,000 of construction value. For agricultural buildings, it would be $40 fee plus $1.50 per $1,000 of construction value. And for additions to or alterations of existing buildings, renovations, it would be a $40 permit fee plus $2.75 per $1,000 of construction value. And for accessory buildings, buildings which are accessory in less than 55 square meters in area and only 1 story in height, it would be a $100 flat fee. Where any construction, repairs, or alterations are commenced without issuance of a building permit as required by the Act and the Building Code regulations, the fee for issuance of a permit shall be double the amounts set out in subsection 1. The fee for issuance of a renewal of a building permit, a development permit, or a demolition permit shall be a flat fee of $40. No value of construction fee shall be charged. Where a permit issued under this section is not used and an application for a refund is made in writing to the building official within 30 days of issuance of the permit, the applicant shall receive a refund of 50% of the fee paid. Residential construction value per square foot, including additions or alterations, is determined by using the annual Altus Group Canadian Cost Guide for the low end of the range for custom-built single-family residential in Halifax, or the contracted price of construction. All other construction prices per square foot will be based on the contracted price. So that's the motion ahead of us this evening, and it's clearly written in your package. So could I have a mover on that, please?
I'll make that.
Councillor Sean Sampson has made the motion. Could I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Oh, okay, I think Deputy Warden may have raced you to that one, Councillor Digdon. So the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
So the only discussion I would have on that, and maybe it's separate, is the fee going back from the construction to the, and I don't know if we want to address that in the motion, that the municipality will not cover any cost.
Okay. I think if we were going to cover that cost, it would be a new piece of the bylaw, so maybe then we would need a motion, but right now we don't, and so we're not really suggesting a change in procedure there. So,
Yeah.
but it's a very good point.
Yeah, I think whatever he's saying is that if we didn't accept this recommendation, we, yeah.
We would be.
We would be making that change, yeah.
Good.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Sampson, you can return, please, and thank you. All right. So the next item is correspondence from Clint Sampson, Revenue Manager, regarding Plum Island, Barbara Malcolm. So Clint has provided, I guess, a historical summary of a situation on Plum Island. And, you know, I don't know, Karen, with Jason here this evening, I'm not sure, Jason, if you would want to say a few, speak words to it, or Karen, if you would like to. Yeah, okay.
Well, I can start, and I think
Okay.
Maybe we'll ask Jason. if
So this
there's
goes back, I
anything
think,
further.
maybe even before your time, Jason, right? It's a lot of history, okay.
So, there is an island, Plum Island, and it's in the Evanston area. And we now own 1/3 of the island, and this Barbara Malcolm, she owns 2/3 of the island. And so this has gone back and forth for probably some 15 years, I believe. And the last time, basically, there was the approval from council to go ahead and sell the lot, the land, the island as a whole unit, because it didn't make sense for her to try to sell 2/3 of an island, or us to try to sell 1/3 of the island. So the agreement with council was to actually go ahead and sell the whole, to try to attempt to sell the island, but nothing ever came of it. So really what's happening, it's coming back to us. So there would have been a motion to go ahead at that time. And so when Clint received this correspondence from Barbara this time around, he went back and he went to NOAA with EMM law, just to kind of determine what would be the next steps. And all is still well and good. The recommendation is to go back to council just to kind of get the blessings, but right now is probably a good time to try to sell the parcel of land it, you know, in our mind, it's kind of like declared, you know, surplus. And further to that, Jason, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to mention. There is a lot of background and history, and for anybody that's read it, you know, there's a lot of details there, but essentially that's the background. Would you like to add anything, Jason?
No, that's great.
Okay.
Good job.
So you're, okay then, there's no point in reading through all of that, you provided it, it's great. So, I guess you're looking for an updated motion from council then?
Correct.
Okay, and the motion would be to redeclare or just support the designation of the land as surplus and to enter into, I guess,
And really, it's to give Barbara Malcolm the okay to go ahead and
Sell the entire.
to advertise or promote that
Right.
this piece of land is for sale. If it sells, she will get 2/3 and we'll get 1/3, and it would be left, you know.
we would have to enter into an agreement with her, a purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would basically be a joint advertisement where we would
Okay.
just give her, you know, a letter of agreement to basically
Okay.
say, look, go ahead and try to sell it, and as long as, we're basically giving her the authority to advertise it and put it for sale, as long as we would recoup our 2/3 interest, the 1/3, sorry, interest in the island. And in half of the island, and of course, fair market value comes into play as well. We need to agree on fair market value. The property would have to be appraised, and then we couldn't sell it for any less than fair market value. So I don't think we're as concerned as what she would get for her portion of the island, as long as the municipality received fair market value for their portion.
Okay. Okay, so I
Yep.
guess thank you, Jason. We'd entertain a motion to provide Barbara Malcolm with a letter of agreement authorizing her to advertise the island for sale for fair market value, and that we would recoup our portion.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Are there any further questions, discussion?
I think it's fair to say, of course, it's in District 3, so I've chatted with Barbara's real estate advisor, and so, you know, they're expecting to list this property for around $370,000, so it's certainly a good time for this to be happening. I think it could give us a little boost.
Okay, great. So if there's no further discussion, okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. So please thank Clint for his detailed background on that, and thank you, Jason and Karen, as well. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is a request from Margaret Herdman regarding funding, request for funds for panels as, in addition to the Main Street project. And so this, I guess, is coming officially from the Lighthouse Preservation, Almaden Lighthouse Preservation Society. So the reason I'm guessing that this does not end up through our regular grant structure is because it's a total that would exceed our grant maximum of $10,000. She is looking for about $18,000 to put towards 6 signs, I believe it is. Okay. So,
So the signs that she's asking for is 2 here in Arishat. One that would talk to the courthouse, interpretive panels of the courthouse, and also for the municipal government here in Arishat. And also another 4 on lighthouses around the island, so total of 6. The estimate is about 3,000 each panel, so total of 18,000.
okay, thank you. So I guess at this point, strategically, we could be looking at supporting this investment. We could refer it back to staff to maybe do an analysis of how it could be financed. I am thinking of other signage funding that we know exists in the county that may need to be repurposed anyway, so there may be an opportunity there.
I make the motion to adjourn?
No.
Yeah, so, if I may interject for
Sure.
a moment, I spoke to, Margaret, while we were planting flowers, out at the garden thing, and, I did bring that to her attention that, you know, I reached out to our MLA, so for those who aren't aware, I guess I reached out between Development Non-Madam Association and the province, and we got approximately $26,000 in signage funding for the island. One of the big costs of that was going to be a welcome to all Madam, and then lo and behold, the money was already covered through the streetscape project. So he's looking into if we can use that money for other signage on the island. I don't foresee it being a problem, but I'll wait to hear back from him.
Yeah.
So I did reach out to, in discussion with Mark, I said that might be something that the provincial money can cover some of the costs, especially the lighthouses and, you know, certain things like that. I will add to that though, as for the courthouse, I don't know, that's private property now, so I don't know that we can.
The building is still historic, and an interpretive panel telling the story of it.
Wouldn't necessarily be located at the courthouse.
Yeah.
It could be located
Kind
elsewhere.
of,
Okay, just,
Yeah.
I understand your point though, if
Yeah.
there's gonna be a different use for it.
Yeah, if we put a sign there with the history of the courthouse and then something different is done with the courthouse, right, so, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
you've
valid
got
point.
permission. to do
Yeah.
that.
That's a,
I mean, that's all.
that's a valid
Yeah.
point.
and I do know part of the funding was to look at like a kiosk setup coming onto the island, so that might be, you know, as for the courthouse one, maybe a good spot to put, you know, this is historical properties right there at the little kiosk.
Yeah. I guess a part of my concern with this particular request for funding too is that it's a request for 100% of the project to be funded, and that really hasn't been our strategy. We have very limited amount of grant funding dollars, and we're trying to leverage them to make them go further. So in terms of a next step, perhaps we could refer this back to staff to maybe, would it be appropriate to connect with DEMA to have that discussion as the recipient of the other funds, to see if there might be some way to leverage that?
Sure, we would also have to include talk with our MLA,
With the
of
MLA.
course, because it was through him that
Right.
the funding was,
Right,
and a majority of that, the funding was to go for the
yeah,
entry sign.
right. Okay. Okay, so could we leave that with you to connect with folks at DEMA and with MLA Boudreau? Okay, thank you, Karen. All right, and I guess just in the correspondence from Marg as well on that, there was really no deadline. I'm sure sooner the better is what they had in mind, but there's not we're not working to a funding kind of cutoff here, right? So
Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
need a motion to that effect to have,
I don't think so, not to just have staff, well, okay.
yeah,
All right, so let's do it. So would like to make that motion to refer that to staff.
I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
So, yeah. Pardon me?
A recommendation.
Yeah.
Or, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so the motion is to request that staff look into the matter with DEMA and MLA Boudreau, and come back with a recommendation to council. Okay, thank you. Councillor Digdon has made that motion. Could I have a seconder, please?
I second that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. So is there any further discussion?
I guess the only thing I would add before we close it is that, you know, I'm willing to use some of my district funds, but let's see what we can,
Yeah,
Well, this isn't an application right now, so
Correct.
we couldn't
Right.
use your district funds on it anyway. It'd
right,
need to
no,
be
no,
analyzed, so-
exactly. So,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll reach back out to Megan. I've explained it to her, but I'll reach back out to her and let her know she has to
sure.
put in the application.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. I couldn't remember if we had voted there for a minute. It must be getting late. All right, so cruising right along, the next item under correspondence is a request from Budladeck First Nations CEO Nicholas, with a request to access Richmond County services. So the correspondence was included in your package after having a discussion with Karen before the meeting this evening. I guess at this point, I'm suggesting that we would ask staff to do some initial investigation into costs and impacts to our current operation and come back to council with a recommendation. And that perhaps once we have that recommendation, we could do a presentation, maybe between myself and staff to the band council with information as that comes forward, seeking their input. Because I don't think we're in a position to enter into a negotiation at this point. I think we need to do some initial homework, based on, I guess, the feedback, Karen, that you got from Public Works Director. So would council be supportive of that approach?
Yeah, I'd make that motion.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is to refer this to staff to do some initial investigation into costs and impacts into our current operations and bring back a recommendation to council. Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson, for making that motion. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sean Sampson? Okay, is there any further discussion?
I think you gotta stop with the discussion, but, the only thing I think that I would, and from the get-go, we gotta remember that Phototech's part of the huge part of Richmond County, and we're looking at this, and we're currently having them, funnel their garbage out to different districts. I'm sure everybody around the table is aware that the Guysborough, collection facility has been sold, to, to a United States corporation. So I just, again, I would caution us for charging our own public, our own county, extra money for using.
No, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further comments? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is correspondence from, again, Clint Sampson, Revenue Manager, regarding property damaged by fire, AAN 017200872. And the memo from Clint is regarding property that was completely destroyed by fire on May 6th, and recommending a write-off of the taxes related. So I'll open that for discussion from council.
Yeah, so I spoke to the family affected, and the initial request was for us to waive the tipping fees. The home was 100% destroyed, lost. So yeah, they were looking to get. They did all the work, demolition work themselves, and took care of that themselves. But they were just looking for us to waive the tipping fees, which, when speaking to the Public Works Director, Chris, he mentioned that might not be possible, and informed me to do it this way here. So glad to see this application here on the table, and I'd like to put that motion forward to accept Clint's recommendation here, please.
Okay, so the motion is to write off the taxes, to accept the recommendation of staff to write off the taxes in the amount of $356.94, which represents taxes on the dwelling only from May 6th, 2022 to March 31st, 2023.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. So the next item on the agenda is a request from the Richmond County Truckers Association regarding the fees, which we did approve for increase, I think at our last meeting. Time flies. But I think there was some confusion over the date because the request had come in on March 30th, I believe, but the agreement wasn't signed until May 12th, which, so there had been no wording in the motion to suggest that we would that they wanted it retroactive. They assumed it would be from April 1st. So we just needed to kind of have a discussion to, I guess, determine whether or not we want to make those fees retroactive to April 1st, that new fee structure. So, discussion from council would.
Yeah, I guess if it's a motion at this point you're looking for, then I would definitely make the motion to make the fees retroactive back to April 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know all too well what it is, transportation costs to transport goods across this province, so I feel for the Trucker Association, and I'm in agreement with Councillor Digdon there that we should make this retroactive and take care of this for this association. I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. So the motion's been made and seconded. So is there any further discussion? I know I have a question, I guess, from staff's perspective, in terms of the motion. Have we captured the wording that you needed there to make the agreement retroactive? Okay. I just am realizing that right now, probably something I should have asked sooner. Is there any further discussion, though, on that? Okay. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. And I guess, Karen, we'll leave it with you to notify Peter Coven from the...
It's only gonna be after council.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I would mention, just in respect to increased rates, as far as the budget, as far as, you know, the projection for the municipal budget, and that was based, I think, like at a 35%, like used average for the year. And just as everybody knows, the rates are going up, and that 35% that was projected is not, it's gonna be too low. And, you know, we might be looking at maybe 50%, like here in May, this week, or the last week of May, it was like 40%. The third last week was like at 60%. So everybody's feeling it. So, so the only thing I would mention is I agree with what council has said. You know, we are going to end up spending more than what was budgeted. But in talking to Chris, there has been 10,000 saved on the heavy garbage pickup. So that is some money that can be allocated to this budget, so.
And the surplus CEO mentioned here was 44%, right? Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
mention that, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
And fingers crossed, it could
Yeah.
go back down.
It could go back.
You know, we are early in the year, right? You
Yeah.
know, right now we're trending towards over budget, but it may
Yeah.
shift.
Okay.
That's my optimistic attitude right
Well, thank you,
there.
Deputy Warden.
Issuance.
It's a good attitude. All right, so the next item on the agenda then is correspondence from Jason Martell, CFO, regarding grant requests. So in the interest of time, I'm not sure, Jason, if you would like to walk us through a couple of these, or?
It's up to you if you want to just motor through it.
Okay.
Object.
All right, so maybe what we'll do is we'll just do a Q&A on it then. So the first one is from Almadam New Horizons Seniors Club for a Type 1 infrastructure grant. They're seeking an investment of $5,000. So does council have any questions for the CFO on that?
Do we know offhand, I know there is still funds available, but where we're at, the amount budgeted is, what's left, basically?
Yeah, I think our regional fund, Jason, I think we're at 13 out of the 30,500. We spent 13.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would only normally send out an invite the end of the month, but I just did it up quickly today, so
Okay.
there's,
13.
Councillor Sampson's right, there's 13 spent of the 35.5, or allocated.
Yeah,
So there's a balance of 22.5.
in regional.
In regional, and then
Yeah.
just quickly, 4,500 in District 1, 4,500 in District 2, 4,038 in District 3, 2,038 in District 4, and 5,000 in District 5.
Right. That's what I have as well. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so,
So I
Yeah.
do have another question. So when I look at their project budget, what they're showing in terms of financing it is they're showing provincial funding,
Mhm.
and then they're showing their organizational cost, like, they're not showing us in that mix. And I guess part of my question is, A, did they really get that much provincial funding, or are they hoping to get it? Or did they lump us in with that? How much information do we know about that piece?
Yeah, I think part of it is just, you know, the groups are not totally comfortable filling out the application.
Okay.
So in the amount requested from the municipality, they don't necessarily put it all the time.
Yeah, okay,
So we would be providing half of the organization cost, and they would
Right.
be providing the other half.
yeah, okay.
And they did let me know this week that they did get approved for that
They
35,000.
did, okay, great,
They just found out, yeah.
awesome.
So they can
That is
approve
really
from
great.
the from the province, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect,
The provincial grant is, I think, 75% of the cost, up to 50,000.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I would like to see us fund this $5,000 request. It's nice to see, Jason, like you say, they got the 35,000. When we look back at the last couple of years, we just had Rochelle Sampson here speak of a recreation park for young people and youth in our community. And we can't forget what the last couple of years have done to our seniors in our county, right? So this New Horizon Senior Club is a very important club to a lot of seniors on Almadam and in Richmond. So I'd like to see us do what we can there to make this 5,000 work.
Okay. We could look at a split between the
Yeah.
regional fund and your district funds.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, not to put the pressure on anybody, but I mean, when it comes to the electoral boundaries, the New Horizon Senior Club is snap dab in the middle of District 1 and District 2. I don't know where it belongs, or if
No
someone
pressure,
lived,
Mike.
if someone lived there, I don't know who would vote, right? So I'm not putting the pressure on anybody, but, yeah.
Well, in the interest of time,
Yeah.
could I suggest $3,000 from the regional fund and $1,000 from each of your district funds? Would that make sense?
Well,
Or-
I'm looking to save a little bit, so I was looking to save 250 from the 1,000, so I was gonna go 750, and 3,500. But that all depends on.
I just been voluntold that 750 was coming from my district, so I'm okay.
I'm fine with that.
Councillors, you're okay with that?
And we accept money from other councillors if that's what you're waiting for,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
if any other councillors,
Deal
I
with
wasn't sure if
I think
somebody-
we're-
I wasn't sure if somebody was
We have
waiting
our own
to.
roves to deal with.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of many. Okay, so the proposal is to fund $750 from District 1, $750 from District 2, and $3,500 from the regional account. So could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mike Digdon. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. All right, so the next item is St. Joseph Parish 4, Regional Health General Grant. The request is for $10,000.
So Warden, I'd like to declare a conflict because I do provide services to St. Joseph's
Okay.
Parish and some financial advice, so I will remove myself from the discussion.
Okay.
And I was
Thank
gonna
you
go
very
after your district for some money.
All right, so councillors, do you have any questions for Karen or Jason regarding this item?
So, yeah, my only question was where we discussed this in the past. I think if I did shoot an email off, but yeah, I saw your response this afternoon. I appreciate that. They don't own the building, it appears, right? So that would be a bit of an issue if the diocese or other group was to sell it off and we contributed to it. That was where we kind of talked about this being a possible problem in the past.
Yeah, so I had that discussion with the board members, and they told me that in the past, the county has invested in churches in the county, which are all owned by the Diocese of Antigonish. This board has told me there's plans in the works that maybe, that becomes a different situation in the future. And some of this funding is not diocese money, it's a parish fund that the parish pays into to fix this church, right? So, yeah, it's an investment that they're making on their behalf.
Yeah, no, and I understand it was done in the past. I think this is why we had, there had been some changes within the grant structure. I believe that was the reason we were given, was that the only concern there would be if we were to provide funding for something and then the diocese turn around and sell it, that it kind of, it's not advantageous to the taxpayer if they're able to profit from us contributing to it.
Yeah, and it's a concern. I mean, we've seen the diocese divest properties in the past.
We have, again, I would, you know, I guess I would chime in by saying it's only, it's one of only 2 churches that are here on the island, and it's, you know, it went from falling apart, I guess, pretty much to, you know, a very poor state of affairs to, you know, the organization really bringing it back to life. And, you know, I guess it would be no different than, you know, funding the waterways park that we did, and, you know, it's all about whether we own the land or not. We have to be careful in where we put the funding. However, we also have to remember that, you know, the building's been there for many, many years, kind of like the ball fields, I guess, and we helped them out as well, so it's.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, the ball fields would be generally controlled by those groups, right?
Exactly.
But
Like
owned by the
They're owned
diocese.
by the diocese, yeah.
Maybe some are, yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like it's, I think we want to be really careful with that, because the diocese has shown in the past that they're not going to worry about our feelings if they decide to turn around and sell a building.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to.
I don't want this to come across as anything against the parish. It's
Yeah.
not that way at all.
Yeah.
It's that the diocese has done things, I think, to the local parishes where the local parishes have suffered for somebody else's mistakes.
Well, we've noticed that, because like Councillor Digdon just said, we got 2 churches left on Almadam, not 4, right? So, and the 2 churches, groups have worked very hard to maintain the one in Ayrshire, and the one in Perigel, you know, they've done some work to the point where they took the bell and, you know, and they maintained the roof and fixed the roof to the point where they had to do all that stuff to fix the inside of the church to put it the way it is today. So there's been a lot of investments there made. If they don't fix this roof now and they don't maintain it, it might not be worth anything in the future, right? If it starts raining into that church, right? And ruining everything that was done, and, you know, ruining all the investments that were already made in it, right? So, and I hear your concern, but we also, you know, we gotta look at the overall picture, and the overall picture is there's 2 churches on Almadam for parishioners and funerals and weddings and all that stuff, right? So, yeah.
Is there no option for, I mean, this is a diocese-owned building, is there no option for, I don't know who I'm looking at on this, who the question goes to, is there no option to go to the diocese for these repairs? I mean, it's a diocese, you know, it's owned by them, you know, but I don't see in their funding structure any money coming from the diocese. It's coming from parish funds on hand. They're talking about 35,000, which I'm assuming is money they've raised and have put in a renovation account.
Yep.
The credit union, they're making a request. St. Joseph's Parish Hall, which I'm assuming has their own pot of money.
Yep.
Richmond County, and fundraising.
Yep.
Where's the diocese in this funding structure?
Yep.
I guess that's the missing link for me.
So maybe that's part of the future plan
Yeah.
that they're discussing here with me, and, you know, they've told me there's a plan in place, so
Right.
maybe that plan includes, not, asking the diocese for this, because there's a plan in place where the diocese, has no reason to invest in it, you know, because they know what's gonna come in the future, right? So, so maybe.
And I guess
maybe that's the
looking at
plan.
it, you know, they are a registered charitable organization, no different than any other registered charitable organizations that we choose to donate to.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's, you know, I understand we're putting money into, you know, a building, however, whether it be signage, whether it be, infrastructure, whether it be anything else that we fund, they are still
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know, whether it be
And-
wharfs, whether it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want it to come across as an
Oh, no,
issue
no, I
with the
understand
organization.
your concern, I just
My
think-
worry is that they don't have control of the asset.
Right.
That's, you know,
A different corporation
yeah,
has control of the asset. right?
Correct.
the building's worth a lot more to the diocese if the roof is in good shape.
And worth a lot less to our parishioners if the roof is not in good shape,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, right? But you look at the funding, and you get the credit union, they probably had the same concerns and same questions you have, Brent, but the credit union's putting 5,000 in. the St. Joseph's Parish Hall is putting 5,000 in, so it looks to me like the community and the parish and the parishioners are investing in this regardless, right, of that concern, Brent, like you mentioned. It's still being invested in, right, so.
So, I guess to bring us to a point on this, you know, there's a couple of options that we have ahead of us. It would, you know, one option would be to approve the full amount in some kind of mix from, you know, the districts and regional funds, or we could look at a partial amount, or we could decline at this time. And you know, honestly, my feeling is, my feeling is that the $10,000 is a lot of money for the municipality to put in. I'd be more comfortable with something closer to what, you know, the credit union, you know, they're asking from the credit union. But that's just my feeling on it. So maybe I'll just kind of go around the table and hear your thoughts. And maybe I'll start with you, Councillor Digdon. You know,
No pressure on
put
this.
you on the spot, but do you have something in mind?
I tend to agree. You know, I feel like, you know, my heart wants to give them $10,000, but sometimes our pocketbook at our municipality level doesn't really, I guess, coincide with giving, you know, all the money out to everybody. And I don't like to be the guy to say first come, first serve, and then we're out of money for anybody else that has missed the boat. In saying that, you know, when you look at the money that they raised and that they're putting in, yeah, I don't know, what do I have left in my district fund, Jason?
4,500.
Yeah, so,
Well, no, you just
Oh,
spent
sorry, yeah.
750.
Sorry, you just spent 750.
You each have 3750.
3750.
Yeah, I have 3750 as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I guess for my district fund, I would do it the same. Again, you know, I'm sure many of the residents in my district do I'm sure they do, go to that church as well, so I would be okay with, you know, the $750 or $1,000 out of my district fund towards the,
Okay.
towards that project.
Okay, so you're proposing 750 from your district?
I think you said 750 or 1,000.
Yeah,
That's
I think I think I can do the,
Okay.
yeah, I can go to $1,000 on the, from my district fund towards that,
Okay.
I wouldn't, personally, I think the 10 is a little high. I would like to see 5 come from the county, and then whatever come from the district funds.
Mhm.
That would be my,
Yeah, that's where I was going, you know, and thank you, Councillor Digdon, for the 1,000. And I agree with what you said. I think now there's only 2 churches on this island. I think there's a lot of people in District 2 that use the church in Ayrshire, and vice versa. There's a lot of people in my district that use the church in Ayrshire. So there's District 2 people that use the church in Bergara, and vice versa. Again, there are only 2 churches left, right? So I appreciate the $1,000. I'd be willing to put 1,500. And as you mentioned, Madam Morton, you know, you found 10 was steep, and you'd rather go half. You know, if we could get to 7,500, then we'd be investing 5 from our regional fund and 25 from our district funds to get
Okay.
to 7,500 instead of 10. I'd be happy with that.
Okay, so that would leave only 14,000 left in our regional fund, just so folks know. If we did the 5 there and got to the 75. But if you're okay with that, then, you know, so that's the suggestion, is 1,000, 1,505 to get us to the 7,500. Councillor Digdon, I'll go back to you. Are you okay with that?
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Councillor Sampson?
No, I wouldn't be in support of the project, I don't think, just based on them not controlling the property and the diocese not contributing anything.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so, and I'll admit, I share Councillor Brent Sampson's concerns on that. I don't, you know, I understand that the organization running, you know, doing all the work is a charitable organization, and hard fought volunteer time is going into that. you know, but the fact remains, it's not, you know, it's not a property that's owned like by another level of government or like some, you know, it's essentially owned by another corporate entity, you know, through the diocese, and so I'm a little concerned about that for sure. So I think at this time, I feel that we, you know, I feel that maybe we have a little bit of a hole in our grants policy, and we need to deal specifically with churches in it, and because we really don't have a provision for that. It's a different kind of organization completely.
Yeah, and that's fine, so I guess,
So you're not in support whatsoever, Councillor Zhang? Not at all? And yourself, Madam Moore? Not at all?
You know what, at this time, I don't think I am, Councillor Sean
Yep.
Sampson, but I do think we have a little bit of a gap here, and maybe we need to have a discussion. Maybe there's a conversation we could go back and have with the organizers to find out what, you know, could we get some clarity on what the ownership, you know, structure looks like of the building itself, you know, and what is the plan? Because if it's going to be divested to them somehow, which is what I think we're maybe suggesting, maybe that's where we can come in and help, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I would mention, I don't know, I think if people had any interest in the totals coming only from the district funds, that's something I'd probably consider, if it wasn't coming from the general fund.
Yeah,
I know it's a smaller amount, but you know.
yeah, so I guess,
Yeah.
you know, at this time, if, I would match Councillor Sampson's 1,500 to make it a $3,000 donation from District 1 and District 2, if that's,
Okay.
if that's acceptable.
Yeah, and I'll second that motion. If that is the motion Councillor Dignan is putting on the table.
Okay, so we would have $1,500 from District 1 and $1,500 from District 2 for a total of $3,000 invested.
Yeah.
Okay, and you'd be supportive of that?
So in the next 10 seconds, I'll decide, I guess. No, I think I
Yeah.
would. I like, it's something I'm not trying to stop this entirely. I do worry about it, and I don't like it coming out of the sort of general fund, but I don't want to be, I don't want to be seen as being too, sort of pushing against what's coming out of the funds allotted to District 1 and 2, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think when it comes to my district and the parishioners and probably Councillor Diggson's district and their his parishioners, I think they'll be okay with us investing some of our district fund money for this project, so.
Yeah, and again, if I had concern that the diocese was gonna close it tomorrow, then I wouldn't make the motion to invest the 1,500. However, I understand I understand your reservation of not using the grant fund, and I'm okay with that.
And I also think part of the issue could be that this may be completely reasonable tonight, and is it next year or 6 months from now, is it a different church that we think may be close to closing? So it's, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so the motion is $1,500 from District 1, $1,500 from District 2, for a total investment of $3,000. And I still really have some reservations here, but if we could maybe have an agreement to talk about this a little bit more in terms of grants at policy and bylaw for faith-based, faith-owned structures, I think it would be a good
I thought
thing
that was
to-
why that was put in the first place though, right? Because it used to happen. And I don't know, maybe Jason can correct me if I'm wrong, that was the reasoning behind putting that in about owning assets, so that this kind of, to exactly avoid this kind of situation.
That's exactly the reason.
So
why
I think it
in-
was already thought out in the sense of like what Councillor Sampson was saying, it did used to happen in the past.
Yeah,
But they found good reason not to, you know.
yeah, okay. Okay, so the motion's on the table. Is there any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
We better get the deputy warden back in, she's been out
Yes,
for a while.
Deputy Warden, if you can hear us. Thank you. All right, so the next request for grant funding comes from Bidaba. Bidaba Partnership Society. It's for Type 4 Regional Health General Grant Fund of $2,000. And I believe this is what we provided to them last year. I'm just gonna go double check because I might have that wrong.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is, I think that the past number of years, we've provided a grant of $2,000 towards the operation of that group. And so I guess, invite any questions or comments from councillors, if interested, if you're willing to support this. And maybe I'd suggest, because they kind of cover the region type of thing, and I know they've been here to present at council before, we would, you know, potentially we could do 2,000 from our regional fund, if that would make sense, or happy to hear other thoughts on that. So councillors? All right.
Sorry, we're all silent, but
That's
yes,
okay.
I would, as I did last year, I would support their request.
Okay. So 2,000 from the regional fund?
Yeah, that seems to
Definitely.
make sense because it's
Okay.
not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you care to make that
I
a
will
motion?
make that motion. Consider it
Thank
made.
you. All right, thank you. So the motion is to support Bidaba with $2,000 from the regional fund. Could I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Digdon. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So we did have, in our items added, under correspondence action required, the request from DEMA for $3,500 towards, I believe it was basement-related renovations
The
at
cement
the
floor, I believe,
Forge.
going to the washrooms.
Pardon me?
The cement floor going to the washrooms.
Yes, at the Forge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I apologize, it came in today, so I'm catching up a little bit on that one. So the total project value, I think, on this one, sorry, I'm just catching it up here.
It was 7,000,
7,000, thank you, Karen.
and the amount requested is 3,500.
Okay. So, councillors, are you, would you be in favor of supporting this? And if so, would entertain, I guess, your thoughts on how to split that up? Or if not, then what's the alternative?
Is it on our,
It's in the section on item added,
It's in an email.
and it's in an email as well.
It is in the agenda though.
oh, fine.
It's in the items added section.
It's in the items added,
section.
Got it, got it.
yeah,
Thank
but I
you.
did, in terms of covering it, I
Chance to see
did.
it either. I only
Well,
got
I
two
saw it in
guys.
the email.
Okay, so, so it's about 50% of the cost that they're looking for, to do this piece of work. And the Forge is a public building and quite an asset to the county, for sure. So because we haven't had this information for very long, I don't know, Karen, would you be able to provide a little bit of background? Was this due to water damage? Is that?
To be honest with you, I don't know if it was due to water damage, but
Okay.
they are looking to resurface, so
Okay.
I think they do talk a little bit about water getting into that level of the floor and over time, causing the
Yeah.
flooring to,
Peel and,
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
sloped in the opposite direction.
yeah.
When the doors open, the rain, the water kind of runs in as
Okay.
opposed to, it's, I guess if you're, so you don't fall out the door as
Yeah.
opposed to falling in if you go to an event.
okay. So, yes,
And
councillors.
were there financials provided?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Oh,
they're
I found
showing,
them.
So for me, like the Senior Horizon Club, you know, it's an important part of Alma Dam, right? So is the Forge and so is development Alma Dam, so I'll match what I gave the Senior Horizon Club and I will take $750 out of my district fund.
Okay. All right, so we have a suggestion from Councillor Sean Sampson to take $750 from District 1 funds. Councillor Digdon, were you interested in
Yeah,
doing that
I
as
would-
well, or?
I'd just like the CFO to give me an updated balance on what I have left.
You're at 2250.
Yeah. So another $750 would take you to $1,500 in your district fund.
I should have phoned in sick today. Yeah,
Okay, so that would be $1,500, and if we wanted to match their request, it would be $2,000 from the regional fund.
now is that only 50% of the project?
It is 50% of the project, yeah. And, you know, there's no requirement for us to, you know, provide the full amount. We can determine an alternate amount if you so choose.
Yeah, I'm still okay with giving the 1,500, but, I'm looking at their revenue.
I mean, they have retained earnings of $67,000.
Right, that's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm going with that.
Okay. All right, so, that being said, would you be comfortable with an investment of $1,500 towards the project? From $750 from each of your district funds?
I'd like to see us split it in half. I'd like to see 1,000 come from our regional fund, and then 1,500 come from our district funds, for 2,500 as opposed to the 5,000 they're looking for.
No, we're looking for
They're looking for 3,500.
Oh, 3,500, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're pretty close at the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so $750 from districts 1 and 2, and that's for a total of $1,500? Is that what I'm hearing?
And 2,000 from the regional?
No.
No. With that much retained earnings, I think the point Deputy Warden was making is, you know, they do have some financial resources to put towards this. Is that?
Yeah, where there are other groups that we may encounter coming up that are not gonna be in a similar position, right?
Okay.
So I'll make the motion to, or I guess we'll need a motion
We do, yeah.
that, well, I'll make a motion that District 2, puts in 750, and I'll include District 1 for his 750 for a motion of $1,500 out of our district funds.
All right. So the motion is to take $750 from both District 1 and 2 funds for a total investment of $1,500 in the DEMA project. Could I have a seconder on that?
I second the motion.
Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So the next item of correspondence action required was also a Canada Day funding request. If you're looking for that in your package, it is under the items added. And this one came in a little bit late from the Johnstons Harbour Wharf Association. They're seeking $450 in Canada Day funding. And I think we do have the budget room in our line item to accommodate that request.
Yeah, I think we had $1,500 left, Jason.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I'd entertain a motion, I guess, to go ahead and approve that request, even though it did come in a little late.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that, you know, and I'm fine with the motion, I guess, but we do wanna be careful with accepting, again, we do have a deadline for a reason, and we made it clear, you know, that if you didn't meet that deadline, then no other applicants would be,
Yeah.
accepted, and here we are accepting one, so I just,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was gonna put a motion last meeting to spread out the 1,500 and the 3 applicants and give them each $500
Right,
extra,
to
right?
exhaust the
That's what I
budget
was
line.
gonna do, because I
Yeah.
thought the deadline was gone, right?
Yeah.
But I guess everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah, yeah.
however, where does the $1,500 go if it's not used? It just
No,
goes
It just
back
goes
to
back.
our
into our
operating
general.
budget.
Yeah, Yeah.
So, again,
yeah, I think this is their first time applying for funding, is it, Jason, or?
I don't think so.
No, I
No?
think they used to apply every year.
Oh, okay. My
I'm
apologies.
surprised with the low amount of applicants that we received, so
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
Normally
only
there's
3
usually-
applicants, right?
there's only 3, this would be the
Yeah.
4th, and usually there's a dozen probably, so.
really, well, okay,
I guess I'm happy to see somebody putting on events
yeah,
during candidacy and getting people out. Again, I would caution us that, it's well past the deadline that we've made very clear, that we weren't accepting any more applicants.
definitely. Maybe we'll make the exception this time to, you know, to consider the fact that it's been a couple years since, you know, since many organizations were willing to do this work, so.
But was this part of the reason about having trouble renewing the registry of joint stocks as well?
Yes,
So
that's
that
what
was,
Yeah,
that
they
was
needed
why
that for their application.
they
I
couldn't
see.
apply on time, but
Yes.
it's sorted out now.
Okay, so the motion is on the table. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Whew, all right, the next item on the agenda is correspondence, just for information purposes. And we did have a letter, I guess, a bulletin from the Nova Scotia Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding a statement of provincial interest regarding housing and small options homes. I'm not going to read that. It was provided in the package. But does council have any question or discussion you'd like to have regarding that item? Okay. And certainly if members of the public want to see that correspondence, we can certainly provide it to them upon request, so. Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the review of checks issued for May 2022. Do councillors have any questions on checks issued? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the review of action items. And again, this is just simply for review. Councillors have any questions or comments on the action items? Lots of completes on there.
We're good.
Gotta love it. Okay,
I love the completes.
the completes make me feel good. They make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Okay, so items added to the agenda, we did cover that under correspondence action required. And so now we will open it for questions. We have a 15-minute question period. If you are joining us online, you can phone in with your question. The number is 902-226-9885. That's 902-226-9885. And we'll just leave it open, or if members of the gallery have a question, maybe we'll ask you to come up first then, Jermaine, and
It's been a long time.
I know, welcome
This is
back.
exciting. Unless you have a question for me.
In general. Just, my first question would be, for special meetings and policy meetings and that type of thing, would it be possible to get a copy of the agenda prior to, like, could that be online? So I've
Yeah.
noticed that there's special meetings, but sometimes unless I'm not looking in the right spot,
Yeah, they
what the
generally,
special meetings are.
yeah, they generally do go online, and they go under,
They're in the calendar.
Community
yeah, in the
calendar?
calendar.
And
then
Right.
they
get shared on Facebook. If you go on the website, like, there's a calendar there,
Yeah,
and every one of the meetings, if you click on it, it'll bring you either to the Zoom link or the location and the agenda. There's a link for the agenda there also.
that must be.
But
what
you
it
can
is.
just call me if you can never
Yeah.
not find them, and
Okay.
I'll email, but it is there and on Facebook both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about minutes to the policy meetings?
Yeah,
Are
so,
are they posted somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay,
If you go, I can send you the link,
okay,
but now we have all of those committees. I think there's like 6 committees listed. But if you go on the website now, when you go to minutes, you're gonna see committees of council, and within that folder is all of those committees like,
great.
Yeah, everything, committee to
Yeah,
hold,
they're all
regular
there.
meeting to hold, yeah.
and they all
once
have-
they're approved, they go
Yeah.
there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the next one, okay.
Yeah.
That's great news, thank you. And I know that for, land use bylaws, there's a policy or a procedure in place that whereby you can pay so much money if you want to ask for a change or an amendment to the bylaws. Is there such a process when it comes to other bylaws? So say, subdivision bylaws.
Right.
Is there a process that, same thing, that you can pay $200 for advertising and ask, for the bylaws, for amendments to the bylaws?
I don't think we have a policy like that in place, but I mean,
So it's only land use bylaws that you can do that?
yeah, to my knowledge, we don't have that in
I've
place
never
for any
heard of it,
others.
but I can check.
If you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind, I just,
Yeah.
where it's there for the land use, I just
Yeah,
thought maybe it might
Yeah.
be there for the other ones.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
And the Private Ways Act, so is that administered and set up under municipal affairs?
So it's a provincial act,
Right,
and I guess in terms of the municipalities' interaction with it, we would, go through municipal affairs as if we needed, advice or contact, whatever.
okay, so it came down from,
It comes from the,
Municipal affairs.
from the province in general, but,
right,
but they're obviously our liaison, yeah.
okay, and then we have bylaws here.
Yeah.
Okay, so, tonight at the other meeting, there was mention of 25-foot right-of-way, to get, somebody's landlocked. that
Yes.
They would get 25. So did that come up under the act, or did that come up under the bylaws?
No, that came up under the act. I can double check on that, and I should double check on that.
Yeah.
But in,
Because I'm surprised that since 1999, there's only ever been a 20-foot right-of-way or a 66-foot right-of-way.
Mhm.
And to take, to come in and say we're gonna put a right-of-way 25 feet, I just found that curious.
yeah, so I can tell you our bylaw does not refer to the size of the right-of-way.
Because our bylaw is just about
Because it's
fees and
really
collection of
just about
fees,
fees.
that's the only thing that we have any
However,
latitude
District
on.
Planning Commission, so just, and only because I reached out to them
Yeah.
personally, because I had somebody reach out to me with interest. So in order to subdivide the property, you're required to get, if you need to go through somebody's property for a right-of-way to buy existing property, you're required 60 feet, or 66 feet, whatever it is,
So
60.
That's for a private.
That's
road.
outside the
Private
question
ways,
though,
yeah.
right? The Private Ways Act, 'cause so I think the question is, did the 25-foot right-of-way requirement, did it come from the bylaw or did it come from the act? I'm pretty sure it's coming from the act, but
Okay.
I know it's not coming from the bylaw, but we can double check on that with,
Because the other
John, yeah.
concern is, when, I understand, that's not good to be landlocked.
Mhm.
But mind you, in this day and age, if you're purchasing a property and you know it's landlocked, well, the onus is on the person buying. But to say that you're gonna give somebody access, well, if you're giving somebody access at 20 or 25 feet, we have bylaws in the subdivision bylaw that states that if you have a right-of-way of 20 feet, you can subdivide your property into 2 lots. So if we're going through the Private Ways Act, and then we have bylaws here at the county level, and we say, and it's okay to put in the 20-foot right-of-way, well, you're negatively affecting the person that it's going across. And by giving them 20 to 25 feet, is there going to be a stipulation in the bylaw that says that whoever gets their landlocked land unlocked by way of that 20 to 25-foot right-of-way, that they're not gonna be able to develop that property into 2 lots? Because now you're not only affecting the person you're going through their land for 1 lot, but now you're giving the ability to the new owner to now have two,
To continue to subdivide it.
right, so.
Which
I-
John did confirm today.
They
He
can
confirmed
sub,
that can happen.
Yeah.
that can happen.
To a maximum of 2.
That's right.
Right, but don't you think that that's a little unfair to the, first off, you're taking the land that somebody else enjoyed for all these years to give somebody else access. And that's okay if you're not interfering with what the history of your use is, but you go and give them that access, so you're, now all of a sudden you're devaluing somebody's property, not only to let one person go across, but now you're opening it up to 2. And then, let's go a little further into the future, and what if all of a sudden you bring municipal services to a spot that's landlocked? It's one thing if you need septic and whatnot, your sizes, they're pretty big. But if they're not, and you bring services to those properties, what's to say that someday down the road, somebody won't change that and say, oh, well, so you have 2 lots, and we're gonna make them 5 acres each, and now I'm gonna say, okay, well, I've got 20 feet of access to get to my 5, and so now I can subdivide that, I've got 20 feet to this one, now I can divide that. So I just would like, hope that somebody will take those things into consideration before allowing this type of thing to happen.
Yeah.
Because it was scary here, listening tonight, to say that one person could be assigned the ability to make a decision that negatively affects somebody, and to say that somebody's property, or that they may have the ability, one person, to tell somebody they have to sell their land, things like that's very concerning as a landowner and as a taxpayer.
So we can definitely look into whether or not we would even have the authority, because I'm not convinced that we would, to stop future subdividing once a right-of-way is established. I mean, I think that's.
You can if you change your bylaws.
Well,
Yeah,
you current council can for this term, but in 4 years' time, if nobody's here, new council could then again re-change the bylaws to address.
No, we can change the bylaws at any time.
Right? And in 4 years' time, if none of us 5 are sitting here, new council could change it back to
They could
whatever
change it
want.
back. There's-
Right,
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
what I'm saying,
But it should be a public process.
Yes, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The problem is, and what we're finding out, and what some other people that we're talking to have found out, is that, unfortunately, we don't follow. There's meetings about bylaw changes, there's the Private Ways Act. I'm gonna guess that not many people contributed information to that.
Members of the public?
To the process.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
you're right. It was discussed publicly.
Yeah, but I thought.
People chose
there
to.
was, that's right. And I think maybe there should be more education out there to the public, because there are a lot of elderly people that we've been talking to recently who are finding that they're being negatively affected by things, bylaws and whatnot, that have come through over the years
Yeah.
that they weren't aware of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The fact that if you're subdividing into 2 lots and you don't have to tell your neighbor, well, so you're taking the due process away from the neighbor by not being able to be a part of the process, right?
Right.
So,
Right. With regards to private ways though, Jermaine, we're bound by that, and I know there's, John reported on, some municipalities maybe not adhering, but it is clearly written as a shall,
right,
right? So really the bylaw we put in place was to protect the municipality, and
Right.
was really related to the fees charged, and all the authority comes from that act, right?
but it's been my experience over the last probably 8 or 9 years, that when you go to municipal affairs or anything in the act, they tell you they will not interpret the act for you, that you, as a taxpayer, have to pay for a lawyer to interpret.
Yeah, that's right.
And even if you do
Us
have
as a
lawyer-
municipality is the same.
Yeah.
But if you have a lawyer to interpret it, if the person that you put into place to administer your acts or your bylaws and whatnot, if they can bypass the solicitor.
If I could just add one comment.
Well, sure. Could I get you to come up though,
Sure.
Betty? Yeah.
John Bain was very quick to say that it was 25 feet was the right of way for the private ways, and then he definitely came back and said that.
Sorry. Melanie wasn't sure you were saying.
Well, I mean, that's the process. That's a process, that's
Yes.
why, sorry.
Yeah.
It's his
Yes.
first time asking me.
That's okay, thank you, no, that's fine.
Anyway, John Bain was very quick to say 25 feet, but he on the tail of that, he looked up on his phone, he
Yeah.
said, Richmond County bylaw, allowing 2 lots on 20 feet, 6 meters would be allowed. So my interpretation of that is the 25 meters, 25 feet is the statute in the provincial government. But the overriding factor is the bylaw that Richmond County has to allow 2 lots on 20 feet, 6 meters.
So we come back to, the act might say
So-
something, but the municipalities have the ability
guys control.
to set your bylaws.
For sure, but we
Right.
can't contravene the provincial
Oh, you
government.
certainly
You
can,
do.
because they say that they're just a guideline. And that may be why the other municipalities aren't being taken to
Perhaps.
task for what they're doing.
Mhm.
And I have no idea.
Yeah.
But like I said, the MGA is basically a guideline. They can't force you to do anything, they can just provide.
So this is not the
you.
Municipal Government Act that we're talking about, though, it's the
But I
Private
thought
Ways Act.
Private Ways Act was
No,
within the.
So there's a Municipal Government Act,
Yeah.
and there's a Private Ways Act,
Yeah.
right?
But is it not?
It's not within, we would work with municipal affairs as a liaison to the provincial government
Okay.
and on any act, right? The Municipal Government Act is what guides municipalities specifically in our operations,
So
but,
we have to look up who
any act.
set up the
But the
Provincial
Private Ways
Ways Act.
Act gives you the 25 feet.
right, my understanding, but
Right.
I'd have to double check
Well,
on that,
that's what
but,
you said tonight.
yes.
But then council has said if you have 20 feet,
Mhm.
through EDPC, the council's bylaw says you can have 2 lots. All we're saying is if it's a Private Ways Act, why doesn't council restrict that even if it's 25 feet that you have, if it's a Private Ways Act, you only have 1 lot.
So we can look into that, for sure, because I think I have a follow-up for you, because I do want to make sure that I'm not giving you wrong information about the 25 feet, and we can certainly look into that, if that's the question you have at hand, yeah.
Well,
And
I
on
just
this-
think that when you're talking about taking, changing somebody's, land value or
Mhm.
enjoyment,
Mm-hmm,
that, you know, there's a section of the Municipal Government Act that says council is here to ensure that your taxpayers do have the enjoyment and,
Yeah.
take responsibility for that. So, you know,
Yep.
where's the balance, I guess?
and that's certainly, that's what we're striving to achieve, so.
Yeah.
But thank you for your question, and we will get back to you with that.
Great.
Consult
Thank you
with
very
John.
much.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
I think we'll have to look into that, to the distance as well, the 20 feet versus 25.
Yeah.
Because if the province is 25.
Yeah.
No, again, just to,
Sounds good. So are there any other questions? And I didn't hear the phone ring during that period of time, so I'm going to assume there were none coming that way. So I'm just going to go to page 2 here of my agenda. So I think that concludes our question period. So I'll entertain a motion to move us in camera, please, and thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I see you guys?
Thank you.
Could I have a seconder on that motion?
Sure.
Councillor Brent Sampson has seconded the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion is carried. All right, so we'll take a little recess to let Telly will wrap things up. It's 10 to 10.
Jason, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We did it.
Thank you, Jason.
To leave a few minutes earlier.
Thank you, Jason.